Ariel Helwani in Chicago, just days away now from UFC on Fox #2. And look who we have run into, the WWE champion, Mr. CM Punk. And CM, thank you so much for the time. This is a big honor for us. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, it's weird you running into me like this in my house. I don't know how that happened. That's crazy.
I just sort of camped outside, asked a bunch of people, and look, here we are.
You're not the first one. There's some creepers out there. But yeah, cool. Well, welcome. Hi, everybody.
Well, it's very fitting that we're talking to you, especially just days away now from UFC on Fox #2, because you have been very closely linked to this card. Your name has been all over the MMA news, Real, and I wanted to ask you a bit about it. At first, it was reported, and let's just get it from the source right here. It was reported that Chael Sonnen would walk out with you to the cage on Saturday night in front of your hometown fans at the United Center. Was this, in fact, true?
It was something that Chael and I discussed, yes. And the thing about my job is you don't get days off. And we have a show that before the big pay-per-view, Royal Rumble, and I somehow miraculously found myself off the show to get an extra day in Chicago, and it seemed like planets kind of aligned. There happens to be a UFC show down the road from my house, and it's something we talked about. Yeah, I think it might have gotten leaked before all the chickens were hatched, but so be it.
Unfortunately, it's not going to happen, but you're also a good friend of Chael's, as he told us just a couple of days ago. Where did this friendship come about?
We were introduced by Gerald Briscoe, old school wrestler. Obviously, he's a road agent for the WWE now. He scouts a lot of the amateur wrestling tournaments and stuff around the country. So obviously, that's the link. He knows Chael. He put us on the phone one day, like spur of the moment. Like I think Chael might have called him for something, or I don't know. And I think we're alike in a lot of ways. So we just like you do, you hang out with like-minded people.
Is there any truth to the rumor that you pulled yourself out of the equation because you thought you would overshadow Chael? The entire arena would be chanting your name. This is very much a pro CM Punk crowd, and you didn't want to steal his thunder, so to speak.
Well, it wasn't so much Chael's thunder. I think he had a tough fight, certainly a tougher fight than he has now. I think Munoz was a bigger challenge in Bisping. I didn't really want to overshadow the main event. There's some egos in there, and I didn't want to upset anybody. So just welcome to Chicago, and you can stay here as long as you want. But I just didn't want to upset anybody.
That's very gracious of you. I'm wondering what you think about, especially this week in particular. Chael has been in rare form. At the press conference on Thursday, he came out with a UFC title. He's been throwing out these lines that are very reminiscent of Ric Flair and superstar Billy Graham, Jesse the Body Ventura. I mean, he's really on top of his game. As a pro wrestler, do you get a kick out of this stuff when someone appears to be sort of dropping some elements of your line of work into his shtick?
I get a kick out of anybody that's entertaining, and I think if anybody that's a naysayer about MMA that can have any criticism is, oh, some of the guys are boring, which clearly I'm not saying, but, Chael, you got to be really hard pressed to say that guy's boring. He's entertaining, and I think what makes it work is, maybe it's a little pro wrestling in the MMA world, but, I mean, it works. It's fun. And I think the bottom line is entertaining. People want to see him fight, win, lose, or draw. He knows that. He's a smart businessman. I think there's a lot of guys out there that are now kind of picking up on that. So I think the MMA landscape is constantly evolving and constantly changing, and that's something I think you're going to see a lot more of. The Diaz brothers, awesome. And I think Nick said it after he fought Cerrone. He was like, "Hey, I hope you're not mad at all that stuff I said. That's just for TV." Yeah, finally, some guys are getting it. I think it's fantastic. It's entertaining.
So we in the MMA community like to talk about how, pro wrestling can learn from MMA these days. But do you think that MMA can learn something from pro wrestling? That if more people look at what Chael is doing and the response that he has received from the media and the fans, more guys should be doing this stuff. Why not put yourself out there? As long as you can perform and deliver, who cares?
Well, that's the main thing. Talk as much smack as you want. You got to back it up. Will more guys do it? I don't know. Certainly not as well as Chael. He's very dynamic in that respect. But I think guys like the Diaz brothers, Anybody that says they put a black eye on the sport with their, their antics or their shenanigans, I think people really need to take a look at that, because what it does is it highlights the sport as a whole. And, I don't think anybody's really doing anything, to disparage the MMA community. I mean, that's what people talk about. When you mention Michael Bisping, what do you think about? You think about him spitting on the mat against, Rivera. You think about the Diaz brothers, and you think about Chael and all these guys that are talking trash. And, I think you make more money when people are talking about you, and there's no such thing as bad publicity.
It is very clear that you're a big MMA fan. You've just dropped some little nuggets
Shocking.
here. How do you have time? I mean, I always hear about wrestlers being on the road 300 days a year. How do you have time to keep up with all this?
Well, the one thing that you fear the most, the internet, I think, is the.
It's a scary place, right?
It is a very scary place. I'm terrified of the internet as well. Twitter has turned into like the whole world having my phone number, and that's frightening. But
I think I found you.
You didn't see the big neon sign outside my house? It's a CM Punk's place. That doesn't no. I blindfolded him to get here. How do I keep up on it? The internet. I have friends like Chael, and I got a couple other friends who are fighters and stuff like that. Me and Josh Barnett are pretty tight, and I watch frequently. When I'm on the road, obviously a lot, but I'm always trying to remain spoiler free. But then I have certain people that like to spoil things.
I'm sorry,
but I also know I live in a world where everything's happening live, and stuff sometimes gets spoiled. But the stuff that I really don't want to have spoiled, I can really just kind of shut down and tune out, make sure everyone doesn't tell me the finishes of fights.
I am very sorry once again about that. You are one of the best talkers in pro wrestling. You mentioned Chael, you mentioned Josh Barnett. Who, in your opinion, is the best talker in MMA? And why are you shaking your head? Did I say something wrong?
You said I am one of the best talkers.
Apologies.
In pro wrestling. I won't toot my horn about anything athletic that I can supposedly do, but when it comes to a microphone, I am the best in the world. Who's the best talker in MMA? I mean, there's a handful of guys that I love. Maybe they're not the most eloquent, but there's a lot of guys that stir up interest. Both Diaz brothers. I think Rashad, he talks a lot, which is awesome. Chael obviously is number one. I feel like I'm leaving somebody out.
Josh?
Well, Josh can obviously talk because he's a pro wrestler too. Heavens.
What's interesting about the Diaz brothers, though, is that they don't even try, right? Like these guys, Chael, Josh, let's be honest, they're trying. Those guys don't even try, and people gravitate towards them. That's fascinating.
That's who they are. The funny thing about that is, and I don't know how much of a pro wrestling fan you are, if anybody watching is going to know who the Briscoe brothers are. The Briscoe brothers are independent pro wrestlers, good friends of mine. And I mean, I would love to put the four of them in a room and have me sit behind like a one-way mirror and just observe them, because the Briscoes and the Diaz brothers they're identical, and it's awesome. Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the fights. You mentioned that Mark Munoz, in your opinion, was a tougher opponent for Chael than Bisping. Mm-hmm. Why?
Simple reason. Munoz beat Chael in college wrestling. So whether he's retained his wrestling skills, whether he's still better than Chael, or whether it was whatever, I think mentally that probably weighed on Chael. I know anytime, you've been in a fight or something like that, the next time you see that person, you're a little bit on edge. There's anxiety, and I just think the mental edge went to Munoz because he'd already beat Chael at what Chael does best, and that's wrestle. I don't think Bisping is as well-rounded as Munoz. You haven't really seen a ground game from Bisping, and Munoz certainly has more knockout power, in my opinion. So no offense to Michael Bisping, but I think it is a step down in competition. And I really do think, since Chael's been training for a higher caliber opponent, I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk, because I don't really think there is such a thing in MMA. But I think whereas maybe I would have been worried Chael might lose, obviously I think he's walking away with the victory.
All right, how about in the main event? You've got Rashad Evans versus Phil Davis. You spoke of Rashad's mic skills, but he's obviously a great fighter, only one loss. Davis undefeated, and a lot of people think, perhaps including myself, that they're moving him up the ladder a little too quickly, that he may not be ready for this. Why not go with the slower approach, so to speak? A, do you agree with that? And B, who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, I can agree with that. But it also, to me, depends on what Rashad shows up. I can't remember the last time he fought, and I know he's coming off an injury.
He beat Tito Ortiz in August.
Okay, he beat Tito. And before that, was it the loss to Machida?
It was he beat Rampage, but that was a 1.5-year layoff in between Rampage and Tito in August.
That's a big layoff. That's why I love MMA. There's so many variables, and anything can really happen. I guess I'm just worried about his hands if I was Phil Davis, And on top of that, I think Rashad is a better wrestler too. So yeah, but I don't know if Phil's really biting off more than he can chew. I mean, he's a tough guy. It's gonna be an interesting fight. I don't see it ending in the first or second round, maybe third.
As a pro wrestler, for lack of a better word, are you at all envious, jealous of the fact that the UFC is on network television now and pro wrestling isn't? It once was. I guess there's the rare appearance on NBC for like a big Christmas thing for the troops and whatnot, but not on a regular basis. Is that a big, sort of point in the UFC's favor over pro wrestling?
I'm not jealous about it. I don't know if I'm going to sound weird when I say this, but like I don't even know what's a network anymore and what's considered cable. I'm kind of out of the loop. If I could contradict myself right now, yeah, I keep up on MMA. I watch it as much as I can, but when it comes to other television shows and stuff like that, I do not keep up unless it comes out on DVD and I can watch it in one block. Like for instance, right now I'm watching The Shield. I got the box set for Christmas. So unless it's something I'm really, 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 really into, or it's on DVD, that's the only way, I'm watching it. I think it's fantastic that UFC is on network television. Because to me, there's room for both. There's room for pro wrestling and there's room for MMA and UFC. And the more money everybody makes, the happier I am. I think there's a lot of money out there to be made in combat sports, and I think there's room for everybody.
A couple of weeks ago, Brock Lesnar, former WWE champion, lost to Alistair Overeem, and then he retired. A man you know very well, Chris Jericho, wrote on Twitter, which created a lot of buzz, that Brock took a dive. Now, we're wondering in the MMA community and maybe in the pro wrestling community whether or not he was just trying to stir the pot, because he has had some disparaging things to say about MMA in the past, or, was he just being Y2J, so to speak?
Yeah, I think he was being Y2J. I just think he's one of the guys that he's not really in MMA, so he probably isn't as educated as some. To say that Brock took a dive, I don't know. No, I don't think he was serious.
Did your path ever cross with Brock's, not in WWE, but in wrestling in general?
The only thing I ever did with Brock was some little backstage thing. I wasn't even employed at the time. I have no idea why they had me do it. It was 2004. I think it was like a whole year before I finally signed. And I was in Chicago, and I think it was the day after he won the title, and he came walking in, sees me, stops, and goes, "Hey, CM Punk," and shakes my hand. And I said, "Congratulations, champ." And I don't know, to this day, I don't know why they had me do that. I was CM Punk working on the Indies for Ring of Honor, and I just happened to be backstage, and they did that. It was the most bizarre thing. That's the most interaction we've ever had.
There are rumors that he may be coming back to WWE at some point. Would CM Punk, WWE champion, welcome him with open arms? Do you think it would be good for business to have Brock back in the WWE mix?
This is where you'll get interesting answers from me. I'm very proud of what I do for a living. I know some people, especially a lot of people watching, probably have less than nice things to say. That's why it's awesome. Everyone has an opinion. When Brock was handed, the keys to the empire, and you talk about Phil Davis getting stuff a little bit too soon. I think maybe Brock got stuff a little bit too soon. It's a very demanding job. It's 24/7, and I just don't think Brock has the personality. I mean, he would just want to punch somebody in the face, which I can completely understand. But unfortunately, it's 2012, and you'll go to jail, and you can't do that. But And he split. He left us high and dry. Now, there's a code in the locker room. When you're the champ, you kind of toe the line, and the money you make kind of gets distributed to everybody else. So, I think maybe 5 years ago, I would have been more up in arms about it. Like, this guy left. You can't do that, blah, blah, blah. But once again, I won't fault anybody for making money. I would welcome Brock back. I don't think Brock wants to come back, but that's just my opinion. He's done his time here. He's done his time in MMA. I think he was great at both. And there's a few guys that are out there that I don't know if there's really a place for them in modern day WWE, and Brock might be one of them. Doesn't like the road, doesn't like people, and I just don't know if they'd be willing to spend all the money, like the one big payday for him to come in and work WrestleMania or stuff like that, because that would probably be what he wants. And I think it'd be great for business. I don't know if this coming WrestleMania is too soon or whatever, but yeah, I'd welcome him with open arms. I think me and him have a lot of similar traits with the hatred for everybody, but I don't know.
I'm compelled to ask, you said there's a few guys who aren't really cut out for this current WWE scene. Who else?
I just think it's a completely different animal now. I think Kevin Nash came back, and a full-time road schedule isn't something that I think he can do, nor should he. It's another example of a guy who's paved the way for a lot of superstars, and doesn't really need to prove anything. But the climate is, and when you work here, I think you need to be on the road 24/7. That's how you become better at what you do. So for older wrestlers to come back, I don't think they can really handle the schedule. Mick Foley's another one. I love these guys to death, but to come back and to work a schedule that is so demanding might be a little bit tough.
Fair enough. One of the first things that I noticed when we walked into your great place here was your gi. And I know you have a background in martial arts, but I did not know you trained in BJJ. Is this something new, or did you just not tell us about this when you were on my show, the MMA Hour, cheap plug, a few months ago?
No. What am I going to do? Just be like, hey, by the way, I do jiu-jitsu. No, I neglected to tell you, I suppose.
But it was very interestingly placed. It was the position,
Well, it's because I just washed it.
I'm just kidding.
It's drying. I like to air dry it.
You did have an arrow pointing above it.
Oh,
you took it down, yeah.
In the sign it says, "This is my gi." Yeah, it's something I've always done, and unfortunately, because of my schedule, not as frequently as I like to. I got a couple of friends out here who I like to go roll with. The only problem is every time I show up someplace, somebody always wants to test the champ. And I can't afford to have some dickweed, break my leg or something like that. Because believe me, people try. One real quick story. One time, some guy, like I always show up and throw the white belt on because I'm new at that place, and I'm there to sweat and work out. I'm not there to be a tough guy. And some guy was like, "Oh, what's your background?" I'm like, "Oh, I train in this and this and for this long and blah blah blah." But I'm no superstar by any means. I'm just here to work out. I'm 45. I just had back surgery. Take it easy on me. And I was like, okay. So I'm rolling with the guy, and then of course he gets me in an armbar, and I tap because there's no shame in that, and he doesn't let it go, and I'm just like, this, And then we get up, and he goes, "I can't wait to tell my kid I tapped out the champ," because that's what it's about for some people. Not me though. There's a lot of guys I've actually met. Gideon Ray works out like on the south side. I've met him. Didn't get a chance to roll with him though. I wish I had more time to do it more frequently. I wish I could find a place around here that I liked, but a couple places I've gone to, they're a little sketchy.
As a competitor and a guy who has a background in martial arts, do you ever watch the fights and say, just one time, I just like to see what it's like one time in the octagon? Doesn't have to be for a title, doesn't have to be a main event, but are you at all interested in just knowing what it's like to have an MMA match?
Yes. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody, and those that think that I don't belong in an octagon, I welcome that. I welcome anybody that tells me I can't do anything. It makes me want to do it more. I think there's a lot of guys that their paths might have been a little bit different if UFC was as prominent. Because, of all the tough guys in the world and all the wrestlers in the United States that came up and were Olympic caliber athletes, there wasn't really an avenue to pursue after they were done. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's high school, it's college, and then beyond that, it's, if you're good enough, Olympics. A guy like Kurt Angle is a perfect example. You know, tough son of a bitch, won a gold medal with a broken neck. You know, and then after that, what's left for him to do? You know, I certainly believe that if MMA was as prominent as it is today in, you know, what, 97, he won in 96, I don't think Kurt ever would have became a pro wrestler. I think Kurt would have been, you know, fighting in the octagon or somewhere, you know. Some of my favorite fights are with guys like, you know, watching Pride fights when they would have like just, you know, just awesome Olympic caliber, you know, athletes, like when they had Rulon Gardner, you know, like who else was like a wacky wrestler? I can't remember his name. But Pride would do that all the time. They would just find these wrestlers and they would just bring them over. Yeah, I would love to give it a chance. And I think the only thing that's well, obviously the only thing that's stopping me is I'm a contracted talent and for World Wrestling Entertainment. But also I'm no spring chicken. You know, all these guys they're so young, they're so athletic, and you know, I'm kind of like an older, broken down, like baby deer. Like that's how graceful I am sometimes. You know, I never try to say I'm an athlete or anything like that. What I have is heart. You know, and normally when I have a desire to do something, I set my mind to it, I can do it. So, you know, who's to say? You got to wait maybe 2 years and see what happens in my life. But
so there's a small chance.
I don't know.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I just turned 33.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. It was in October, but you know, I am old. I don't know if I'm too old for this. You see guys fighting all the time. Right. I mean, Randy was fighting when he was 40. I think Dan Severn's still fighting. He's almost 50, or he is 50. So you know, age is different for everybody. It's not really how old you are; it's how old you feel. You know, and I'm not saying coming soon to an octagon or anything. Don't worry, Dana. Calm down. Don't freak out. You don't have another hothead pro wrestler to deal with. But the question asked was, would I be interested? Is it something I want to do? Absolutely. I think there's a lot of guys in the locker room that would give it a shot. I think even Taker's told you that, you know, back in the day, you know, if there was maybe two choices, you know, he would have went somewhere else, you know.
Okay, just want to end on 3 quick things, and then we'll let you go, and I appreciate it very much. You mentioned Dana White.
By the way, I just want to point out that your cameraman is wearing pink socks.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all.
He's very hardcore.
That's all. Yeah.
You mentioned Dana White, and a lot of people over the last 10 years or so have compared him to Vince McMahon. I know you're a big fan of MMA. I know you've watched Dana interviews. You've seen him do his thing. You obviously work for Vince McMahon. Do you see any comparison between the two characters?
Other than the fact that they are both awesome promoters, you know, I don't know Dana personally, so I really can't say. I like the fact that Dana's way more off the cuff than Vince is. You know, I would say less professional, but that might come off as negative. I don't think he's less professional. I mean, he swears like a sailor. I think that's great. You know, guys like me, and I think that the fans of the UFC can relate to Dana certainly a lot more than the fans of the WWE can relate to Vince, you know. And I don't know if it's an age thing or what that is. They're similar in the respect that I think they're both very shrewd businessmen, you know. I would definitely call Vince a genius, because look at what he built from nothing, from the ground up. This was his baby. And Dana's done a great job of doing the same thing with the UFC. I think I'd have to meet him in person before I called him a genius, though. I don't know.
Good news. He's in Chicago.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, how about that? All right.
Maybe we call him up, have a little soiree here at your place.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, Chael's in the sauna right now, you know, trying to make weight, so.
All right, and the last 2 things I want to touch on, and one of them I'll sort of interject here for a second. Obviously, remember your infamous promo last summer in Las Vegas, which seemed to have brought back a lot of old-time fans, such as myself, who maybe moved on to other things. And
see, people, there's room for everybody.
Well, I was very impressed with it, and it got me back on the train for at least a little while. I'm just wondering, and this may, this maybe indulge the wrestling fans who are watching, how has your life changed since then? Of course, we know about the new contract and you're the champion and whatnot. And I'm just curious, as an individual, how have things changed since that summer and that promo in Vegas?
A lot of behind the scenes stuff that people didn't know about when I was legit leaving and I made up my mind, and they kept throwing contract after contract at me, and I was just like, no, I'm going home. I'm gonna sit on my couch, because as you see, I have a very nice couch that I never get to sit on. So my plan was to literally just split and do nothing. I definitely sense, I really think I'm more visibly a celebrity now, if that makes any sense. And I hate saying that I'm famous or a celebrity. I get really weird about that, but I am on TV, so I don't really know. I don't know how my mind works sometimes. Getting noticed a lot. I got noticed a lot before, but now it's. That was the main thing. Like, it seemed everywhere I went, like I legitimately saw people wearing my T-shirt. So that's been a big thing. But I was so burnt out before I resigned. And it's funny to me because people don't really know the length of how much I was burnt out. And to just go, okay, you know what? If I'm going to be back in, I'm back in 100%. I'm back to doing, everything. And to just dive back in, like head first, and still being so burnt out, I think it took a toll on my body. Mentally, I'm okay. I think for some reason I just got recharged. I'm happy whenever I'm doing cool stuff, when it's cool and it means something, and I'm given opportunities to produce. Because I think anytime I've ever given the ball, I always hit it out of the park, and because that's what I do. That's how the whole best in the world thing started. Give me chicken, and I'll turn it into chicken salad. That's I think the biggest difference. And I think certain people in the company have finally started to build faith in me. Those are the big differences.
All right, and finally, it is the Royal Rumble on Sunday, January 29th, from the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm channeling my inner Mean Gene Okerlund here.
Free plugs.
You are facing Dolph Ziggler.
Yep.
You are defending your WWE Championship. How's this one going to go down? Let us know. I could be maybe the coach here. Could I be maybe Todd Grisham? Someone.
Sure.
Or maybe Ariel Helwani.
Coach.
Who knows?
Both those guys work for ESPN now.
Weird, right?
Just be yourself.
Okay.
Be yourself. Except maybe not be an Expos fan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You stole Andre from us.
I
haven't forgotten. I was 5,
a long time ago,
but it still hurt.
A long time ago, man.
That's all I got now, memories.
Wow. How it's going to go down. Hey, you know what? If you're a fan of pro wrestling, and I still am somehow, the Royal Rumble is always my favorite event. I'm a little bummed I'm not in the Rumble. Actually, I'm a lot bummed I'm not in the Rumble this year. Though I think the last 2 years I was a big part of the Rumble, and I made the thing damn entertaining. So my job this year is to make my match more entertaining than the Rumble, and I think I'm in there with a guy who has the same mindset as me. I think Dolph is one of the best guys on the roster, but he's not the best in the world. So obviously, it's going with me. But the interesting thing is Laurinaitis, special guest referee. Now I feel silly talking about all this pro wrestling stuff on an MMA show.
I love it.
Yeah. So I mean, deal with it, tough guys. If you got a problem, come find me. Because chances are everybody on the internet that says that this pro wrestler shouldn't be anywhere near MMA, I can probably kick your ass.
That is very true. You want to tell us who you're wrestling at Mania? Break some news for us, or should we wait for that?
I don't know. There's all kinds of rumors. Is it going to be The Undertaker? Is it going to be Triple H? Is it going to be Chris Jericho? I don't know. Maybe it's Andre Dawson.
That would be something I would pay to see. He is CM Punk, the best in the world, as he said, the WWE champion. He will not be escorting Chael Sonnen to the ring on Saturday night, but he will be competing live on pay-per-view this Sunday against Dolph Ziggler. This has been a huge honor for me. Thank you so much, CM. I really appreciate it, and always a pleasure talking to you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
The last time we came to you from this very location was 363 days ago. A whole lot has changed throughout this entire universe in the last 363 days, but one thing, my friends, has not changed. That is that the man to my right
is still an asshole.
That, and he is still the reigning and defending WWE champion. He is, of course, CM Punk. Hello again.
Well, hello.
Good to see you. Did you remember that it was 363 days
I
ago?
wouldn't have guessed it was 363, but I knew it was a year ago. It's cold out. We're in Chicago. Yeah.
UFC on Fox. It's almost like a yearly tradition. UFC on Fox and a Helwani Punk interview.
Absolutely.
The people ask for it.
Let's go ahead and make it every time they come to Chicago. We'll do one of these.
It's a date.
All right.
Well, good to see you. I want to ask, before we get, everyone knows you're a big MMA fan, UFC fan. Before we get to all of that, how has the last year been for you? I know you were on my show, but we weren't very reflective. I'm wondering, has this been a good year for you since we last talked?
I think every day above ground is a good day. So yeah, I mean, I'm alive. It's been a blur, I mean, I'm in a different city every day. So it's been an exciting year. I think when I look back career-wise, yeah, this has probably been my best year.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not really one to really look back on stuff and think, oh, that could have been better. This could have. I wish this was something more than it was. I just kind of always got my eyes forward. So, but career-wise, yeah, I mean, you can't complain when you've been champ for over a year.
You have maybe 72 hours or so before you step inside the ring with one of the greatest of all time, right? We can agree on that.
Oh, sure.
This is a massive match for you. And for those that don't know, CM Punk will be defending his WWE Championship Sunday night at the Royal Rumble against the one and only The Rock.
Yeah.
First time you wrestle The Rock. Big deal for you. It's been building for weeks. What's going through your mind when you have not just your average fight, your average pay-per-view? This is a biggie. What's going through your mind in the next 72? Are you already in the zone? Are you already in Phoenix?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, like everything else in my life, takes a back seat to my job. Because I think to compete at this level, you have to be 100% dedicated. So obviously, a lot of eyes are on the product now because Rock's back. For a limited time or whatever, but a lot of new eyes are on the product. So to me, it's I'm wrestling like it's the first time everybody tuning in is seeing me. So I got to be, my best. I got to be better than he is. And I don't think that's going to be an easy feat, but I definitely think it's doable.
Do you think you're better than he is?
Yeah, I think. People ask that question a lot, like the whole best in the world thing. I call myself the best in the world, and I really think if I didn't think that, I wouldn't do this anymore. I think if anybody, pro wrestling or fight-wise, doesn't think, you can't step into the ring or cage with somebody and think, well, this guy's, man, he's really better than me, because you've already lost. Obviously my sport is a little bit different than MMA, but yeah, my objective is to not only be better than the guy I'm wrestling, is to be better than everybody on the card, steal the show, so to speak, be the most entertaining thing, be the one thing people talk about when they leave, so, he hasn't wrestled in, a year, I wrestle 4 days a week, so I think whereas I have my work cut out for me, so does he.
Are you better than he was? Because it's, there's no denying, at one time he was much better than he is now, only because he doesn't do this as often. When he was at the top, that guy versus this guy, who's better?
That's apples and oranges, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think I take this more seriously than he does or ever has, and that's not an insult. I just, I'm more of a purist. You know what I mean? I know different styles. I've wrestled all around the world, and he's been a WWE guy. So within that mold, within being a WWE guy, I think he's one of the greatest of all time. Absolutely. But you take him out of his comfort zone. I'm not saying he knows less than I do. Trying to vocalize this the right way. I just, I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't think I was better than him.
Watching you guys side by side working, it is so clear, and maybe I am biased, I will admit that you are in different leagues right now as far as the passion, the emotion that you bring out in the people. His act is, we've seen it, right? When you're in there with him, do you feel like he's on your level? Is he bringing the same heat, so to speak, that you are?
I think regardless of who I'm in the ring with, I don't wrestle down or talk down, you know what I mean? Like, I always force people to come up, whether it's, Cena or whether it's Ryback or whatever, I'm never going to dumb my stuff down or try to wrestle a simpler style. You sink or you swim. You either get in the ring with me and you keep up, or you don't. I think a lot of guys like that. I think John Cena is one of them. And hopefully, I haven't wrestled him. I haven't wrestled The Rock, but I've been in the ring with him and we've done the promo thing, and I like what we've done so far. I wasn't. You read on Twitter and some fans think I won, some fans think he won. That's great.
That's good.
That's what people are talking
right.
about. You know what I mean? But like the fact that I don't think it was like a landslide, victory either way. I think it just kind of makes people question what really is going to happen on Sunday, and hopefully they tune in and watch it.
So right now in your career, are you happy with the evolution of your character, the evolution of your place in the company? Are you happy with your spot? Because with you in particular, it seems like everyone's always worried for you. That's the impression I get, because you maybe blur the line. Sometimes we don't know, how you're feeling. Sometimes you come across very upset. Are you happy?
Yeah, absolutely. If I wasn't happy, I would change whatever made me unhappy. I just think I have a different level of passionate fans than some people. You know what I mean? I've had fans that have followed me since I was wrestling in armories in like 2000. You know what I mean? So they really have like an emotional attachment. So they're going to be more vocal about stuff, and a lot. The benefit of being in pro wrestling is I do get to mess with people. I do get to blur the lines, So when I tweet something like, I'm not on the poster for WrestleMania, you know what I mean? There's millions of people who are going to flip their shit and be like, yeah, he's not, God, right. Man, that's it, and it just so happens that it fits what I'm doing on television, and it's great, and behind the scenes, yeah, I'd be lying if I said that wasn't a little bit like, so you got a bunch of part-timers on the poster, but it's a business. I have no control over that. They're going to sell it however they want to sell it. My job is just to show up and outdo the guys that are on the poster, and then go, I guess you should have put me on the poster. What are you going to do?
Why is it okay to be a fan of CM Punk? Why is it okay for someone in MMA? It's okay for us to say we're fans of yours, but God forbid we say we're a fan of Ryback. God forbid we say, why is it, you get this a lot, right? Why is it okay for everyone to be a fan of yours? Why do you have that connection? Why are you sort of off to the side and everyone else is
I don't know,
still back?
This is news to me.
This is 100%.
I still get it all the time. There's still the staunch MMA. You can't even call them purists. Half of them watching since UFC debuted on Fox.
Right.
They're know-it-alls.
Die hard.
You can't like pro wrestling because it's fake, and they'll never see the parallels between my business and MMA. They'll never realize that pro wrestling started just like MMA. It was the toughest guys, and one of them got smart and said, "Hey, instead of really beating the crap out of me, you know what? I'm just going to let you win. I'm going to get more money than you." And that guy was probably like, "Oh, I'm going to win. That's cool." And what's more valuable to you? The money, or the prestige of being the toughest guy. But I don't know if it's okay to be a fan of me if you like MMA. There's still always going to be those people who, what I do is what I do. I'm a fake ass wrestler, I don't know. But for those who do like me, why it's okay, I have no idea.
Recently, John Jones, the light heavyweight champion, was on Opie and Anthony, and he called you MC Punk. They were talking about...
I do DJ on Wednesday nights.
I found out via Twitter.
Yeah, see?
Now, was that John Jones taking a subtle shot at you because you were critical of him last year when he had some troubles? Did you view that as him just being ignorant, or him taking a shot at you?
I don't know if anybody would willingly portray ignorance, but I don't know. I didn't take it as a shot. I thought it was funny. I do get that a lot.
And your friend Chael Sonnen stood up for you, right? That you do get that. Yeah. I've never heard that one.
Well, I think he might be dyslexic. Is John Jones dyslexic?
I don't know.
It would help that his initials are the same.
That's true. But Chael did stick up for you rather quickly, came to your defense.
So did Jim Norton.
Yeah.
My good friends.
They all did. Yeah, they all did. I want to ask you about that because it's something I talked to Dana White about today. Chael Sonnen and Jon Jones are going to fight on April 27th. They are coaches on The Ultimate Fighter. We got this scenario because Chael Sonnen said a lot of things about Jon Jones, and then Jon said a lot of things about Chael. Now we see them in interviews, and they seem like best friends. You know, they're hanging out, they're talking. This is what your world is all about, conflict, right? I want to see this guy beat this guy up. Is this a problem? Someone watching on the outside, you're friends with Chael, do you have to tell him, hey, and he gets it, you know, he doesn't need our advice, but that could be a problem, right, for business?
It might be. I mean, you know, I think fights that are more interesting than most, there's an issue. I hate this guy. I do think there might be a little bit of a disconnect with the larger audience if they see guys palling around, unless they're best friends. They do the whole, no, we're in the same camp, we're in the same weight division, I don't want to fight, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, now I want to see that fight. You know what I mean? I want to see Cain Velasquez and Cormier fight.
You do too.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I want to see it as well.
Sure, I want to see the best guys fight the best guys.
Right.
You know, I don't care who's friends. You're a fighter. It's your job. It is a business. You know, fight. But it opens up all kinds of different scenarios. You know, people dropping weight, going to different weight classes, just so they don't have to fight somebody. I think the general public, you know, the general population, they like it better when it's more of a GSP Nick Diaz thing, you know. Oh, those two hate each other.
Right.
You know what I mean? The buzz about me and Rock is we can't stand each other, and I hate him because he's a part-time wrestler and he's coming back, and you know, that's great. Whatever generates more business and more dollars in your pocket, that's a good thing, and that's always what Chael has understood.
How much MMA are you watching these days?
As much as I can get.
It blows my mind that
I mean, I recently, when last time I was home, 3-4 weeks ago. I can't even remember. Maybe it was before Christmas. I can't even remember if it was before or after my knee surgery. I went to they had the Bellator fights
right
out here. I think that was my first MMA fight that I went to live.
Really?
Yeah.
You've never been to a UFC?
Nope.
Of course, you were supposed to go last year, walk out Chael.
Yeah.
Are you going this Saturday?
I don't know yet. If I do, I'm gonna probably have to charter my own damn flight to Phoenix.
Right.
Because you know it's not an office thing. It's just a me wanting to get there and just be there. You know, it's very much a pro wrestler thing. You get to the next town that night. You know, regardless of whether you have to drive 750 miles, you get there. So I definitely don't want to fly out Sunday morning, the day of the show, just in case, you know, all the planes magically disappear.
Right.
You know.
But what did you think of Bellator Live? Did you? I mean, obviously you have nothing to compare it to.
I got to see my friend Felice fight.
Right.
That was cool. You know, it was just a different atmosphere than watching it at home. And actually, just sitting there and seeing the cage and stuff like that.
It always surprises me how much you watch. You know, you're talking about a random fuel card and the undercard, and you're taping this and that. You're watching the weigh-ins.
I get pissed when my DVR doesn't record stuff, like real mad. I'll have it'll record like the 6 replays of UFC tonight, but it won't record like the prelims or something like that, and I just get pissed.
I appreciate you watching UFC tonight, or at least taping it.
No problem.
You may not be watching it, but
I watch everything. I'm a nerd.
Who's your favorite guy right now, other than Chael?
Fighter?
Yeah. Well, what are you liking right now in MMA? Which story? Which fight? Which beef? Which conflict? What are you liking right now? What's getting you excited?
I'm looking forward to GSP Nick Diaz.
You are?
Yeah. What else?
Do you think Nick can hang with him?
Can he hang with him?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah?
Can he beat him? I don't know. Yeah, I definitely think he can hang. Because I always think GSP's problem is, when's the last time he's finished a guy?
Right.
You know?
It was probably Matt Serra, UFC 83.
Yeah, so that was a long time ago. So I'm a Carlos Condit fan. That's why I'm looking forward to that pay-per-view too.
What do you think of Rory McDonald?
I think Rory McDonald's nuts for... He's just got this personal beef with Carlos Condit for no reason.
He's like the American Psycho or the Canadian Psycho.
Just because he beat him. And I can get that. I can get behind that, you know, but he seems like
But you notice his transformation. I don't know if you notice this, but it seems like to me a lot of guys, maybe unknowingly, are stealing things from pro wrestling these days. It's come full circle. I think we lost it, and now with, obviously Chael, and I think Rory is very much a pro wrestler, the way he dresses and things like that. I mean, a lot of guys are going that route. Even John, on that Opie and Anthony interview, was saying he started to watch wrestling to learn a thing or two. Is that a compliment? Is it now coming full circle?
They're so similar, what I do and what the fighters do, and I think it's the stark differences are obviously when the cage door closes, or when the bell rings. Those are, but everything else, the promotion, personality, having character, selling a fight. I think a lot of guys can steal a lot of things from pro wrestling. Definitely.
How's the knee?
Knee's all right.
Yeah. How'd you come back so quickly?
I'm stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have come back this quickly?
Probably not.
No. Do you feel the effects of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
It looks like I have a second kneecap on my
Really?
knee. Yeah, scar tissue and stuff like that.
Will you need to take time off at some point?
Need?
Do you want to?
I would love to.
Really?
Yeah, but
maybe after April? You can take time off now, right? This is the most important.
I can technically do what I want, but
right.
I don't know if April is this is the season to try to take time off.
Right.
WrestleMania and everything like that, biggest show of the year, biggest money making show of the year. Obviously you want a piece of that.
How close to 100% are you right now?
I mean, I don't think I was 100% before my surgery. You know what I mean? My knee is definitely better now than it was. I tore my knee up in September against John Cena in Boston Gardens. So it's better now than it was, but I mean, that's a relative term. I don't know what 100% means anymore.
How's the jiu-jitsu?
Good.
Yeah, I saw you rolling with Henry Gracie. You're sporting the Gracie sweatshirt.
Yeah.
You were even rolling with Ed O'Neill,
Yep.
or at least took a picture with him.
It's pretty wild, yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah. He was rolling with Horian,
really?
Henry's father, at the same time I was in there, so.
Henry Gracie tweeted recently, if all my students could be like CM Punk. Come on.
I don't know what that means.
What kind of a that's an amazing compliment.
I agree, but I just think he appreciates that I wear the Gracie stuff when I'm on Monday Night Raw.
What belt are you at now? Black? Red?
Yes, I'm a 12th degree red belt.
Wow.
Yes.
Are you doing it often, or is it tough with the knee, the schedule? I mean, how often do you get to do it?
I've explained this many times. I'm weird about rolling with people I don't know.
Of course.
And
I thought Henner just flies around with you now.
I'm about to start. I'm gonna put him on the payroll.
Right.
As soon as he learns how to cook, and he can be my
your guru. He could be a life coach.
Sensei slash chef.
Right.
No, I'm not. I don't know, belts. I don't know. What do you walk into somebody else's house? You wear a belt that you got from somebody else. I just wear whatever spare gi and belt is laying around, and I don't necessarily do it for a belt or whatever. I just I do it for me.
Okay, let's wrap up. I just want to ask you a couple quick things. UFC on Fox 6 is this weekend. You still don't know if you will be there, but it is in your hometown, United Center. And I just want to get quick picks. Everyone loves predictions, right?
Loves them.
I mean,
absolutely.
John Dodson versus Demetrius Johnson for the flyweights. And by the way, are you a fan of the flyweights?
I don't want to say I'm not.
It's a touchy subject these days.
Is it really?
Very touchy. A lot of fans don't like them. They haven't even promoted the word flyweight in the commercial. They've taken that out.
Oh, that's like people. It's a channel changer.
I guess.
No, I mean anybody who gets in there in the octagon to fight, I'm a fan of. There's obviously I think weight classes I enjoy watching more. Like everybody likes the heavyweights,
sure.
Right? Because the heavyweights will knock somebody out. So I would assume that the problem with the general population in the flyweights is you don't see a lot of spectacular knockouts. These are the fights. They're more like a war of attrition. There's two guys. They're lightning fast, and it's but that to me is the appeal of it. It's a chess battle. You know what I mean? It's interesting to watch. And both those guys are ridiculously fast. I know they're trying to promote that. Is it Dotson has the knockout power that a lot of flyweights don't have. So it's going to be interesting to see. I like Demetrius. So.
Mighty Mouse, you go with the champ. Champ goes with the champ.
I'm going to go with him.
By the way, tangent. Are you a fan of women's MMA? Ronda Rousey, all that?
Love it.
You're on it. You're
Absolutely.
on that train. Okay.
Yeah,
Because that also is a bit of a touchy subject these days.
People are weird.
Yeah.
Man. People are fucking weird.
They are. Okay. Rampage Jackson says he's done.
Let me just say this.
Okay.
About women, by far, when it's crunch time and their back is against the wall, more often than not, are tougher than most men.
Agreed.
I mean, it's just moving on.
Okay. Rampage Jackson, dare I say, is pulling a CM Punk right now. He says,
He doesn't give.
he was at the press conference today playing on his PSP or PSV, whatever they call it. He says he's done. He doesn't care. He's wearing the sponsors that they won't allow him to wear. I mean, it's very reminiscent of a couple of years ago.
I like it.
That's dangerous, though. If you're one step out the door, that can mean trouble for you, often in this world. Who do you like, Rampage or Glover?
Well, Rampage has always been kind of wacky.
Yes.
I think Rampage is going to want to stand, and Glover is going to, try to win. So to me, that means he's going to take him down. I'll pick Glover.
Okay. Showtime Pettis, very talented.
This is the one I'm excited about.
Everyone loves this one.
Yeah.
Against Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah, that's an interesting fight. And man, if there was, I don't think there's a harder one to really take a bet on. This is one that I wish was 5 rounds. Because I don't think 3 is enough. I don't see either guy finishing any of the guys. And it's interesting because when Cerrone fought Nate Diaz, it was like a completely different Donald Cerrone. You know what I mean? Like he kind of got tooled. But then he, KOs Melvin Gillard. Say his last name?
Guillard. It is Guillard in the French way, but it's Gillard.
Is he
He's from
Canadian?
New Orleans. No, but it's French. But it should be Gillard in his world.
And Pettis is he's a Milwaukee boy, so close to being a Chicago guy.
Yeah.
I almost don't want to bet against him, but strictly a gut feeling surround Cerrone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and speaking of Chicago versus Milwaukee, we got that in the fourth fight of the night, Eric Koch versus Ricardo Lamas. Who do you like?
I don't know a whole lot about Lamas. I know way more
Chicago
about
boy.
Koch. Yeah, I know. So
it's a no-brainer.
Even though I don't know anything about him, I gotta go with Lamas.
I gotta ask you
Chicago.
this before we go. How great has it been working with a guy who I feel privileged to call a friend as well, Paul Heyman? What's that been like?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's funny. Like every week after we do, TV or whatever, he texts me or I text him. We're flying home or whatever, and we text each other just. Thanks for last night. Like, what a pleasure it is working with each other. It's just a situation where the both of us never thought we'd get to work with each other again. Worked extensively in 2005 down in Louisville, and he's the whole reason I'm where I'm at today. And I've publicly said that many times. So get to work with him. It's fun because he never got the opportunity to be out there with me while I'm wrestling. So it's kind of opened his eyes to how much I goof off when I'm out there. I'll be looking at him and yelling at him and saying stuff and kind of keeping everybody on their toes, and he enjoys it almost as much as I do.
I pride myself on being very impartial when doing my job, being an MMA reporter, but when I step into your world or other worlds, I allow myself to be a quote-unquote fanboy, if you will. That being said, do me a favor. Sunday, retain. Come April, in my backyard. Hopefully I'll be there. Beat the streak. Go down as the greatest.
You got it.
Can you do that for me?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right.
Consider it done.
The Royal Rumble goes down this Sunday night. It is live on pay-per-view. It's going down in Phoenix, Arizona. The best in the world goes up against the Brahma Bull, CM Punk versus The Rock, of course, Saturday night. It's UFC on Fox 6 here in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. Always a pleasure, an honor, really. Good luck on Sunday. We will be watching. Can't wait for it.
Luck's for losers.
Fans keep asking me, why does the UFC continue to return to Chicago in January of all months to bring a UFC on Fox card here? And of course, this is the 3rd year in a row that they've done this, and I finally figured it out. It's because people love our annual interviews with the best in the world, CM Punk. We've done it 2 years ago, last year, and of course, here we are once again on a Thursday night, once again, for a little catch-up with the greatest wrestler of all time, the greatest living wrestler in my opinion, the former WWE champion CM Punk. It is good to see you.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Hi,
Oh, sorry.
I'm just making coffee because it's cold.
Yes.
It's 5 degrees out.
I
You're used to
walked
this.
into your place.
Welcome to my kitchen. We're cooking with Punk today. We're making coffee. Best believe I will burn it.
You do agree this is probably the reason why, because there can't be any other good reason as to why they keep coming back here in January.
Come on, sports fans in Chicago are crazy.
Yeah,
we love our UFC.
Are you going to the show?
Of course.
You are?
Yes.
You'll be there?
I will be there.
How do you fit it in? It's always before the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I asked for the weekend off.
You did?
Yeah.
Is there a show? Is there some work obligation that you have to
There is a show, but I don't know where it is because I'm not on it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm flying to Portland in the morning to do an appearance, Wizard World.
Mm-hmm.
Elvira is going to be there.
Wow,
that's
the infamous.
cool. Yeah. And then I fly right back, and then I'll go to UFC, hang out.
What's your reason that you give them?
Reason for what?
Why you can't work that show on Saturday?
Oh, we have a don't ask, don't tell policy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I pick one weekend off, and I don't give them a reason as to why I need it off.
Until they see you front and center on Fox.
Yeah, that they don't make comments about that anymore.
They don't?
No, I think I broke the ice on that.
What does that mean?
I think, God, 3 years ago,
right.
I was going to walk Chael out.
Of course.
There was a big
to-do.
There's a big to-do about it. But since then, I think it's died down. Ric Flair was just at the last.
He was like the
UFC.
honorary, guest at UFN show.
Yeah. So.
Will you get that kind of treatment? Will they show you on Fox?
I don't think anybody they probably will. They normally do when I'm at the shows.
Right.
But I'm nervous because I don't know what's going on with my hair right now. So,
what is going on?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is this an in-between phase?
No, it's just I kind of don't care about my appearance.
Okay.
So it's just the mop on top of my
What
head.
about here? I'm a big aficionado of facial hair. You're going with a bit of a Wolverine type look?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of, especially in the cold months, straight razor shave.
Okay.
Have you tried that?
No, I haven't. I'm not mad enough.
It's highly recommended.
Really? But you don't do straight razor, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, just here?
Yeah, here, like clean.
Really?
Yeah, clean,
Straight up?
Straight razor shave.
Blade?
Yeah.
Okay. Why not do everything?
Well, maybe I will. I don't know.
Okay. I like the beard, just for the record.
Thank you. You have a nice one yourself.
No, the actual when you had the full beard.
Oh, no, I look too old. I look young now,
Okay.
I think.
Are you happy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you happy?
No, well,
I'll throw you the fuck out of my house.
What I'm getting at is I read a lot of things. As I said to you off camera, if it wasn't for you and Paul Heyman.
I hate Paul Heyman.
Who doesn't? But if it wasn't for you guys, honestly, I probably wouldn't be as interested in the world of professional wrestling as I was as a youngster. So I keep tabs on you. And
if it wasn't for me, I probably wouldn't be interested in pro wrestling either.
You've been known to be a little...
That sounded bad.
No.
It sounded like I almost have an ego.
But I've been reading that your contract is up with WWE. Is that accurate?
In like 6 months or something like that.
That's
July.
pretty soon.
Yeah.
Usually that's when people start talking about the next one.
Yeah, but nobody talks to me.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I think so. I don't really like talking to certain people. I have a new boss like every 6 months anyway.
Right. Who's your boss now?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's one of those weird.
Let's just go direct events.
Right.
That's how you get.
Do you have an
that's how
open
you
line
get
to him?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I just asked him the other day. It's weird because I don't ever sleep, and I know he doesn't either. So I'll text him at like 4 a.m. Like, hey,
he responds?
Yeah. He's like, hey, and he gives me insomnia tips sometimes. It's funny. But
you and Vince texting buddies, you know.
Yeah, it's weird because I go through like a cycle where I just kind of stay out of the way and I don't talk to anybody. But then I realize I do have this ability to communicate with Vince McMahon, the guy I used to watch commentate. So it's weird. So then I'll just hit him with a bunch of weird questions. I was curious as to who was inducting the Ultimate Warrior into the Hall of Fame because he's a lot like me. He doesn't like anybody. And everybody who ever worked with him has pretty much just talked shit about him. So I'm kind of fascinated. And I think popular opinion is Hogan's going to do it, but they hate each other.
Right.
So I threw my name in the hat.
You going to get it?
I doubt it. But
Why?
I said I would love to induct.
Have you ever met him?
Warrior. The Warrior?
Yeah.
No, I've never met him. I've talked to him a lot.
What kind of guy is he?
Is he the same? We seem to have this strange relationship, this kinship. Where
Really?
he just out of the blue will like, text me or direct message me this like super like just inspirational like stuff just randomly like normally on like the night of big shows like Mania or when I wrestled The Rock last year at the Rumble, like he pays attention. He's a rad guy.
Really?
Huh?
Is he the same kind of character? The guy with the promos that kind of went all over the place. That kind of guy.
I've never had that kind of interaction with him.
Okay.
He's pretty intense.
He's not cutting promos on you, essentially.
No, but I wish he would.
Is he going to be an active member of the roster now?
I don't think so.
I saw Jake the Snake come
back.
back.
He's going into the Hall of Fame though, and I think
the New Age Outlaws, for God's sake, sir.
Yeah, we're bringing them all back.
Aren't you in a bit of a program with them right now?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Are you enjoying that?
Yeah. Anything that's different, I kind of like. My opinion, everything could always be better, but it's not my company, so I don't. I used to be way more gung ho about it, and now I'm just trying to stay withdrawn and just.
Why though? You're a big player.
Yeah, but I don't need the stress.
Right.
When
did that change?
I don't know. I gave it a pretty good shot, but I don't know when exactly it changed, and I don't know if it did. Just some days are better than others. Some days I'm like so beat up I don't feel like putting my boots on, and then some days I go out there and I can still have fun. It's there's definitely a balance. There's highs and lows.
Do you feel like you failed?
Failed.
Do you feel like you failed in your attempt to make change, to have your voice heard?
You probably have to ask me that when I'm like done.
Okay.
Because I'm still close to it. So, and plus I'm one of those guys that is always going to think I can do something better if I get a second stab at it, or I could have done better regardless, because I'm my biggest critic. So it's strange also gauging your not popularity, but your success rate in pro wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, what makes you successful? Is it the money you've earned, or the money you've drawn, or the matches, like the match quality? It's hard to do. It's not like UFC or MMA where a W is a W. It could have been the worst lay and pray, boring ass fight in the history of the world, but you win. So you win, you get the win. Pro wrestling's not exactly like that.
Are you going to stick around
for
the
show?
After 6 months?
Oh, I don't know.
You haven't decided?
No. Everything's up in the air.
Really?
Plus, if I say yes and I don't, then I was lying. If I say no and then I resign, I was full of shit. So I just 3 years ago I was out the door. It was 100%. No, I'm not resigning. And now this time, I think just to avoid a little bit of deja vu, I think I'm just going to kind of dance around that question. I don't know.
Lay low.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
How are you dealing with the travel? Because from what I understand, I just had Eve on my show, the former WWE diva.
Of course.
She explained to me, and her fiance Henner explained to me this amazing, and I never really talked to you about this amazing schedule where you come home on like a Wednesday afternoon, you have all of Thursday, and then first thing Friday, you start the whole thing again.
Yeah, it's
I felt tired just listening to it.
Well, it's brutal, and I think you really have to. I think you really have to want it, and I've been on that WWE schedule for a decade now, and I don't think anybody else can boast that claim. Other guys have been out for, and yeah, they've been hurt, getting surgery and stuff like that, but still, 6 months, 8 months, blah, blah, blah. I took a 2-month break at almost the beginning of last year, and I still don't think that was enough. That was my first break pretty much ever, and it wasn't that long.
What'd you do?
A lot of jiu-jitsu. I actually went down to Destin, Florida with Henner and Eve. I went to a lot of playoff hockey. I did stuff that I normally can't do.
Is that when you went to all the UFC shows?
Yeah, I went to those too. Like the one out in Sacramento.
Right.
The one where...
San Jose.
Yeah, was it San Jose?
San Jose. You went to the tough finale, then you showed up in San Jose.
Yeah, the one when Gilbert beat Henderson.
Well... Actually, technically, he lost, but you think he won.
Mm-hmm.
You're a big Gilbert guy.
I love Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gilbert's great. I love that whole team.
The scrap pack.
Yes.
If you will. Speaking of jiu-jitsu, Dave Bautista's back. Speaking of that team as well, he's a member of that team, right?
He's a Gracie guy.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
About him being a Gracie guy?
No, him being back.
It was great. You know, I was critical of Rock coming back,
Right.
Because of the part-time status, and I'm still an advocate of I don't think guys should come back just for WrestleMania and possibly take a spot of somebody else who quote unquote deserves it. Also a weird thing to gauge in pro wrestling, whether you deserve something or not. But he's in for the long haul. He's apparently signed a 2-year contract,
Really?
and he's a full-time guy. So,
Who wins if you roll?
oh, me.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's a purple belt.
What are you?
I'm a white belt for life.
Yeah.
I refuse belt ceremonies and.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Have they offered it to you?
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But I don't see the point. Like I'm very. I think that's why Hiron loves me, is because I'm very. I just do it just to learn.
Right.
I don't need to. It's not about. Look, I have a blue cock, or I have a purple. Like I don't. Whatever. Like I just do it.
So do you prefer no gi then? So you don't have to deal with that?
No, I seldomly do no gi. Most of the time it's gi because I just like a lot of the traditional aspects. Plus, I just love choking people with
Right.
shirts,
Lapels and things of that
fun.
nature. But that being said, you still think you beat him, given the size difference, all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's because of the size difference.
Interesting. Another big man who obviously has ties to our world is Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And there have been some rumors that he wants to come back to the UFC. Have you heard about this?
Yes.
Do you think it's true?
I mean, I do and I don't. I don't think he's talked like one-on-one to Dana. But knowing Brock, I definitely think he'll watch a fight and he'll be like, I can beat that guy, and I definitely think there's unanswered questions and there's probably doubts in his mind. I mean, I think he spent half his UFC career sick with what is it, diverticulitis? I don't even know what that is. That's, he had over half of his small intestine taken out. I mean, that's pretty brutal, like you get the flu and you're laid up for like a week, and this guy had his intestine taken out, and he was in the ring with some of the best strikers in the world. That being said, Brock obviously doesn't like being punched in the face, but I don't know anybody who likes being punched in the face. I think it's an aspect he can work on, and he's Brock Lesnar. I don't think there's really anybody else in his category. Sure, there's guys that can beat him, but they're world-class guys like Kane. But Brock's a freak of nature.
So do you get the sense he isn't going to come back or wants?
I don't get the sense that he's going to,
Okay.
but I see the possibility that he would want to.
Really? Would you advise against that? I mean, at this point, what is there to really accomplish at his age, his time away?
That's a question he would have to answer. I don't know, truthfully, like what's in his head or whatever. I know he makes a decent living doing what he does now with limited days at work, and he's got kids and his wife, and he likes to go hunting. So he's not hard up, but I think he's a competitor at heart.
Batista, when he left, he dabbled. He had that one fight.
Yep.
Let's say things don't work out for whatever reason. I feel like I ask you this all the time.
Yes,
but,
you do.
And that train.
Am I gonna fight?
Yes. And that train, you sometimes drop little subtle things. Is that maybe the thing that pulls you away? At least you just go out, you get it out of your system, and then like Batista, you come back.
Maybe.
Is that on the table? Are you thinking of that?
I don't know.
Has anyone ever approached you?
Well, let's do it for your
Yes.
your show right here. I mean, honestly, there's going to be a lot of people out there that say that I can't do it.
Right.
Great. To me, that's the number one reason to do something. That's the reason I'm here right now. You're standing in my house that I paid for because a bunch of people thought that I couldn't make it in WWE. I've been here almost 10 years now. I think that's me in a nutshell. That's, you tell me I can't do something, you tell me there's a mountain over there and nobody's climbed it yet, I'm going to try to climb it. Whether I get to the summit or not is all based on, I think, my hard work or what I put into it. I'm 35. I've never competed in martial arts, so who's to say if I would be good or not? But I really think there's There's a chance, but I'm mainly just saying that so I can read people talk shit on
There's an
message
itch.
boards.
There's an itch, though, right?
I think so. I think.
Have you ever
I
talked to
think there
Dana
is.
about it?
No.
You sit next to him. I see you all the time with him.
No, because I think if I talk to Dana about it, it becomes, you know what I mean, it becomes that much more real. Plus, what do you do if you're Dana? What do you do with a guy like CM Punk who comes to him and like
Ultimate
says,
Fighter. Would you do that?
Sure.
You'd go through that.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing. Like, not tooting my own horn and saying that I'm some sort of megastar or anything like that. But do you put CM Punk on
Ratings. They get ratings.
Would it? Maybe the first episode. I see. That's the thing. I don't know. We're talking about
Right.
it. We're talking about it, ladies and gentlemen.
Or would you do like a small show, and then maybe you work your way?
Well,
up
that's the
way
thing. Like, how many people like on that?
Stop
what's that website? Underground.
Oh yes.
Oh,
UG.
they're gonna be freaking out. Yeah, he can't fight. Blah blah blah. Like
Fake guy.
Yeah. Like I should start, on like some scrub show at like the Hammond Civic
Right.
Center or something like that. But I have this notoriety and I have this, this presence. So do you put that on a small show, or do you start off in the UFC? And maybe I could just get guzzled. Who knows? But
Right.
think of all the people who want to see me get my ass kicked.
I know.
Think about that.
It would be great.
It's a really interesting question. I think it's like, what do you do with that? Do you put me in a UFC octagon, and does that do a good buy rate because people are interested in seeing it, or they just want to see me get beat up? And either way, everybody makes a bunch of money. I get punched in the face 4 nights a week. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying it's any easier or any harder than what I do. It just there's similarities and there's differences.
How about this infiltration of BJJ into the world of pro wrestling? Triple H hanging out with Henner, Stephanie McMahon getting choked by Eve. What's going on there? They're clearly biting your style now.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, that's all.
What do you think when you heard that? This is Triple H, the guy who said that he didn't get MMA and all this stuff. Now I see, he's bringing in Henner and Eve to help train his kids.
Yeah, and I think it was for the kids because I think
He didn't roll?
I think he might have done a couple, 2-3 things with Henner, but I got the sense that he wasn't so into it, but the kids were. And
He's into it enough to bring them in to teach his kids.
I know, yeah, but I know Henner and Eve were on your show. I don't know if you've ever seen them with kids. They're amazing.
Oh, really?
Henner and Hedon with kids, like watching them teach the kids out in Torrance and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's amazing to watch the bullyproof stuff go down. Like it's great. It's fun. I think it's great for any kid of any age. So I think it's smart for Triple H and Stephanie to get their kids into it. It's pretty cool.
But do you kind of chuckle inside when you see that?
I would chuckle if I saw Triple H in a gi.
Right.
Yeah. But then, how many people out there chuckle when they see me in a gi? So,
Right.
Yeah, we all have our opinions.
Recently, I just wanted to ask. There was some news that came out, and I know you may not want to address this, so I respect that, but I'll ask it anyway. Some drama.
I'm so intrigued right now.
Yes, there was some drama that happened. I'm just going to move over on this side to get a better look at you so I can ask you this serious question.
What are you up to?
There was some drama online. People are actually asking me this question involving a certain TV host at an event, some kind of argument of sorts. Is there anything you could shed on this story? Because a lot of people were very intrigued by this.
The Beatle thing.
The Michelle Beadle story.
A bunch of horse shit.
Total lie.
Well, I mean, I don't know what a lie was. I thought me and Beetle were pals. She had like this group of women with her, and they walked past me, and she said some disrespectful shit, and I was just like, whoa. And then my girlfriend pulled her aside in front of the same group of people, and was like, and she introduced herself, and she was like, "Don't be disrespectful with my boyfriend." And Beetle just went, "Okay," and walked away, and that was it.
That was it. How did it turn into this thing? How does it get leaked out to the point to where, websites and talk shows are talking about it?
That's the interesting
This was on sports shows too. Like,
was it really?
Yeah, it was because she's a big deal. How does that happen? Who's the mole?
God, I don't know. I have no idea.
Were people hitting you up about it? Was it a problem? Something you had to deal with?
No, it wasn't. That's the thing. It wasn't a thing at all. I think it was made out to be salacious, and that's why people picked up on it.
Okay. Where do you stand now? Still buddies?
Who, me and Beetle?
Yeah.
No.
No, what else? What did she say?
She walked by and said, "What's up, fuckface?"
Oh.
And then like high-fived one of the girls, and I was just standing there like, all right.
Did you call each
For
other?
the troops. I was like,
Yeah, that's right. It was
all right.
Did you call each other that in the past? No, that wasn't. All right.
No.
All right. Well, thank you for clearing that up. I've been building to that moment.
You're such a journalist.
WWE Network just came out. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
$10 a month for everything, and you get the pay-per-views. Is that good? Is that good for the business?
I don't know. I'll tell you when I get my pay-per-view checks, because I still don't know what's happening with that. I don't know.
Do you stand to lose?
If you're a fan, I might. I don't know. If people aren't, I mean, it's considerably less money, right? Which is great for fans. Sorry, I'm professional. You know, if you're a fan, God, I would have killed to have that thing in '97. You know what I mean? Just watch wrestling all day. That's insane. But you know, I think for the boys, and it's just a question of we don't even know yet. I don't know what happens to pay-per-view numbers. Do they go down because everyone's watching them on the network? Does that reflect my pay? Do I get paid less?
They even tell you guys about this before announcing it?
No, not really.
No. So you found out essentially like the rest of the world?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the network was supposed to get launched forever ago, like almost 2 years ago.
Right. There were rumors of it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in this form. It was
but I
TV.
think originally they wanted it like a channel. Thank God we didn't do that. I mean, Oprah's channel doesn't even generate any revenue.
Is it smart though? To put WrestleMania on there for $10?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Really?
Like I said.
Well, for the fans, but for the business.
I don't know. We're going to see.
Seen.
You know, and I think that's what Vince has always been good at, is doing stuff that a lot of people wouldn't have the guts to do. He really puts his neck on the line. So this could be just another one of those things. I mean, people thought he was crazy when he was, trying to get on syndicated cable, and look what happened. So you never know. A lot of people also say we're way behind on this because Netflix has been around for however long. And I think that's kind of the model, is it's a Netflix almost like application. And you can just watch wrestling whenever the hell you want. It's interesting.
3 more quick things, and I appreciate the time very much.
What are we going to talk about the fights, man?
I'm getting there. I'm building to it. I'm building to it. How about Daniel Bryan?
What about him?
He's a very big star, right? From what I hear, the yes chant. But still does not acknowledge where he got it from, publicly at least.
Oh, really?
Where's the love for Diego?
I mean,
poor
Diego.
guy. Guy's getting smashed in the head. He does it. He started that. It's time he gives some props, right?
I mean, I think so.
He took it to a whole other level. But Daniel did. I mean, they're doing that at basketball games and whatnot. I mean, I see chants, crowd chants with the cheerleaders and everything. But it's time to give props to Diego now.
I mean, I give props to Diego.
Sure.
That's up to Daniel Bryan if he wants to. And I think everything in pro wrestling is stolen. You know what I mean? So it's up to the person who steals it to you either acknowledge where you got it from. But this day and age, it's just also everybody's got smartphones and there's Twitter and the internet. So like everything is available. It's not like back in the day when superstar Billy Graham would just straight lift something from Ali. And then somebody saw Superstar Billy Graham do it, and they'd just be like, "Wow, that's great." They wouldn't be able to Google, that stuff and realize that he pretty much is just ripping that off from Ali, and then you wouldn't know that Ali just ripped all that stuff off from Gorgeous George. So, I hope he makes a ton of money off it.
Are you surprised at how popular he's gotten?
No.
Is he the most popular guy right now?
Once again, in the world of pro wrestling, it's such a hard thing to gauge, because what are we talking about? Are we talking about merchandise sales, or are we just talking about crowd reactions? Crowd reactions, yes, hands down. I think everybody likes to throw their hands in the air and scream yes. It's fun, like kids and grandpas and stuff like that, and it's just crazy, and it's great to see it happen. It's interesting for me because I feel I get to watch it happen, and it's sort of what happened with me 3 years ago, and I'm watching it happen with him now, and it's cool knowing where he came from and how good he is, and that I feel he deserves, all the accolades he gets. I think it's great.
Why did they kill that for you, that momentum? It feels to me, and I speak now, I take off the journalist hat and I just talk as a fan of pro wrestling, it feels like they have misused you. Out of respect, I say that, because I want more. I want to see more as a consumer. Why have they killed that momentum for you? Why are you not fighting in the unification bouts? Why are you not at the top?
I would like to think that they don't do stuff like that on purpose. I just
Maybe
think
it's
it's a difference of opinion. I just think it's they wanted to go one way with it, and they thought it was going to be the best way, and whether it was or not is, it's a matter of interpretation. I think you're a fan from back in the day like I was, and I think you watch the first Royal Rumble and you get all excited about it, and now you watch this Royal, like the upcoming one, and it might not be your cup of tea anymore because you're not, it's not Demolition and the Bolsheviks and like all these guys that you grew up watching, so you're stoked on it, you know what I mean? It's just different era and different time.
Speaking of the Royal Rumble, it's this Sunday.
Yes.
UFC is Saturday. You're number one.
Yes, I am.
You're actually in the Royal Rumble this time. Last year you were fighting or going up against The Rock.
I haven't been in the Rumble.
It's been a while.
2 years, I think.
Did you prefer that or being in the featured match?
No, the Rumble.
The Rumble's awesome.
Yeah, the Rumble's I think my favorite pay-per-view of the year.
But what about number one? That means you're in for. Usually, history has told us you're in for a long night. How do you prepare for that?
Well, I could show you my Chicago Marathon medal.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've always kind of prided myself on being an Ironman, and I'm not. I can't bench 500 pounds, but I can, I could probably run 500 miles if I wanted to, So it's going to be fun for me. I'm looking forward to it.
Who's your date at WrestleMania?
My date?
Yeah.
Or who I'm
Who's
wrestling?
your dance partner?
Oh, I don't know yet.
You don't know yet?
No.
We'll find out maybe this Sunday?
And that's the thing. You might, but a lot of stuff happens between now and then. You know what I mean? We got the Rumble, there's Elimination Chamber, and then I think there's going to be 6 weeks to WrestleMania. So we still got a lot of time.
Okay, final thing. UFC's here. You're going.
Yes.
Third year in a row. What do you think of this card? The first time they were here, we had Chael on, we had Rashad Evans. The second time, we had a title fight, we had Rampage in a swan song.
Dane is going to hate me right now.
Okay.
I'll go to any UFC card.
Mm-hmm.
I will watch any UFC fight on TV because I'm a hardcore super fan. I'm a little disappointed in the card. I wish there were some women on it. I wish. And you know what it is? It's not anything. I'm looking forward to Sergio Pettis. I don't know if I'm looking forward to the main event. I'm not the biggest Benson Henderson fan.
Clearly. The Punk stole your nickname.
Who? No. It is an interesting fight though, because both guys. I was going to say both guys are coming off great wins, but they're not, are they?
They're not.
No, the one is.
Josh.
And I saw that. I saw that one live and in person, and
That's right.
It was interesting too because I was sitting next to Ronda, and on the other side of Ronda was Cain Velasquez.
Okay.
So me and Ronda are going crazy for Nate. And,
that's right.
And he's like, and I'm just like kind of like looking over, like, oh, it's his training partner. Like, oh, this is.
He got the last laugh.
This is uncomfortable, but Ronda was in between us, so I thought if anything went down, she had my back. But yeah, I wish there were women. I'm a big women's MMA fan. There's just something. To me, a lot of the times, if I don't know two of the fighters. And they're guys, I'm kind of like, all right. If I don't know two of the fighters and they're women, I think I'm just more interested in it. I think the only real reason is just because I love women.
Right. Period.
Well, I just think they fight different than guys. There's just something about it's just I don't know if it's more primal or they're more passionate. And that's an awfully blanket statement to say because obviously certain people are more passionate about certain things. But I don't know. I'm a fan of women's MMA.
How about Ronda tweeting at you, calling you, and I quote, sexy? Did you see this tweet?
Are you going to disagree with her?
No, but I just thought it was very interesting.
So you think I'm sexy?
Well, yeah. Just
wow. The voice cracked and everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything about that.
Okay, it's very nice.
I probably get my ass kicked in a lot of different directions.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
It was great to see you. How about this?
Good to
this
see you.
time next year, let's do it again.
Do part 4?
Part 4. Well, it's up to the UFC if they keep wanting. They know what the draw is at this point.
Let's get some women.
Let's get some
women on the show.
Well, they know. I mean, they know
I'm just
the shows.
holding. I'm holding this card up to like the last couple ones
Sure,
I've
sure.
seen. You know what I mean? And like
On paper,
you
though,
know,
it might not have the star power, but you know that goes sometimes.
I do. Stipe Miocic is fighting. That's cool.
Gabriel Gonzaga.
Yep. No Russo though, huh?
No.
What?
He's actually not with the company.
Oh.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Chicago flavor on this card. This guy
No.
Darren Elkins, but yeah, it's not.
Well, we got Duke Rufus and
Right, he's got some guys.
Sergio will be down here, so
Right.
that's always I'll support anybody from Rufus Sport.
Well, I keep coming to these Chicago events in the cold, even though it doesn't affect me as
Freezing
a Canadian,
outside.
Just for this. Just
Cool.
to be in your apartment, your kitchen, your house, your beautiful house. Thank you for opening the doors to us. And good luck at the Rumble, number one.
Yeah.
Can you give us a sign, something to let the people who watch this know? Like when you walk in there, can you make a heart? Can you do something to connect? No, you're not that kind of guy, are you?
What at the Rumble?
Yeah, when you walk onto this,
Like wear like a
do a thing. I
wear
don't know.
one of your T-shirts or something.
I mean, it's been talked about.
Really?
Just saying.
Now I'll write a heart on my wrist tape just for you.
Great.
I won't.
Okay.
I won't.
Perfect.
Thanks, buddy.
Good to see you. Don't pay attention to the cameras.
Don't look directly into the
Yeah,
camera.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. CM Punk, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Long time no see.
Do you get to look into the cameras
No.
or just not me?
It's
nobody.
forget
So
that
we're just
anyone's
pretending.
here.
We're just
Yes.
pretending like me and you are having some tea.
Yes.
I
Sans tea, but your lovely
would
dog
really
is
like.
here.
I would really like some tea right now.
It's great to see you again. This has become a tradition for us.
It's weird. Yeah.
All week long, everyone's been asking me one question. They haven't been asking me about TJ Dillashaw, Henan Barao, or Misha Tate Sky. Will you be visiting CM Punk? We did it in 2012.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. We were actually standing right here, and that was our first interview.
10 long years ago.
Yes.
Yes.
You talked about your love of MMA. You were just a WWE champion who liked this sport. And then we met up in 2013. We were sitting over there.
Mm.
It was 48 hours before your big match at Royal Rumble against The Rock.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun.
Right.
Prior to UFC on Fox number 6. And then prior to UFC on Fox number 10 in 2014, we were standing right over there in that corner in what turned out to be your final interview before quitting.
Yeah.
This was a huge deal for me personally, because
Uh-huh.
I had no idea what was to come.
Right.
Did you know what was coming?
No, I don't think you could have predicted any of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember asking you at the end of that interview, you probably don't remember, are you happy? Do you remember me asking you that?
Yeah, a little bit.
I said, are you happy? And you said, yeah, I'm happy. And I didn't really believe you.
Yeah, I didn't believe me either.
And so I'll ask you now, after all this time, a year and a half later, are you happy?
I'm not happy. I'm like elated. I'm ecstatic. I'm
So much has
way more.
changed.
I'm way more than happy. Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, the big thing is you're a UFC fighter now,
Yeah.
which is a bit surreal for me coming back here after 3 trips, because we were always just talking about you being a fan. You couldn't even go to the shows when they were here.
I wasn't allowed to.
You weren't allowed, scheduling conflicts, and now you're an actual UFC fighter. They
Yeah.
announced this in December, and now we've been, here 7 months later. We've heard some updates, we've seen you, you've popped up here and there at events. 7 months into it, is it going as planned? Are you where you want to be when you announced this back in December?
It's weird answer is I don't know if I'm ever where I want to be. You know what I mean? Like I always do things to the best of my ability. So I certainly am not shocked by where I'm at. I'm not upset about where I'm at. I learn every day, and I'm happy where I'm at. But I want to be better than I am. You know, and I think that's what most successful people probably feel. I think when George St. Pierre was on top of the world, I think he always strived to be better than he was, and that's the key for me is going in, training my ass off, which I'd imagine I'm probably going to say like a dozen times throughout this interview, and just learning something every day and getting better.
When they announced this on that pay-per-view on December 6th, UFC 181, it was a weird rollout in the sense that you were announcing this, you were announcing your intention to fight, being a member of the UFC. However, you didn't have answers to most of the questions people were asking you. Where you're going to train, who you're going to train with, when you're going to debut. Yeah. Little things like what your walkout song was going to be, all this stuff. You didn't have answers to any. In hindsight, are you happy with the way it happened, or would you have preferred have this year of training, do your thing, and then announce that you were signing?
I don't really live my life, and I think back, I wish we would have done something different. That's what they wanted to do. And I'm a pretty easy guy to work with. I was just like, okay, if that's what you want to do. If it was up to me back then, I probably would have been like, well, how about we just train, and then once we make the announcement, and then we can say, oh, he's fighting in 3 months.
Right.
Something like that. But they wanted to get it out there like ASAP. So we did it. I was just like along for the ride. It was fun.
And then it was obviously a polarizing announcement, right?
Yeah.
You received some criticism. You received a lot of positive feedback. People left and right were inviting you to join their team, and of course some fighters were saying this is a crock and all that stuff. Has it calmed down since, or do you still hear that? Not so much from fans, because you're always going to hear mixed messages from them, but from your peers now. Do you feel like you are being invited in, that you're being welcomed, that a lot of people aren't looking down on you?
Yes and no. I mean, it still pops up every once and again. But anybody who doesn't like what I'm doing, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about what anybody else is doing except me. So, I mean, a lot of people are cool, and I remember, famously Ben Askren was like probably one of the biggest outspoken people, and he might be one of the closest guys I'm close to at the gym.
Right.
So it's funny how things change.
Of course, you're at Rufus Sport now.
Yes.
You're in Milwaukee. You didn't really announce it. You allowed me to announce it, that you've moved to Milwaukee, or at least rented a place in Milwaukee to be closer to training. How's that going? How did you come to that decision that, okay, I want to be closer, because you're a Chicago guy and you're very proud to be a Chicago guy. How did you come to that decision, and are you living there full time now? Where do you stand?
Yeah, this weekend is actually the first time we've been home. Yes, Larry, I know. I'll get to that. This is the first time we've been home since we moved up there. And the idea originally was, well, we'll come back on the weekends, but we've thankfully, my wife April has fallen in love with Milwaukee, so that helps out tremendously. I wouldn't have been able to move out there without her supporting me 100%, which is cool. To me, it was a necessary thing because driving and just training once a day wasn't going to cut it. So to get to the level where I needed to be to absorb more information, because there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I did the first 6 months driving every day. Blackhawks won the cup. There's no more hockey. Time to move to Milwaukee. And it just worked out that way. And now I'm training 2-3 times a day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not 7 days a week.
Okay.
I definitely think most people, including myself, tend to overtrain.
Okay.
But I'm a different animal. There's a huge learning curve for me. So, every day I get to spend in the gym, the varying degrees of strenuous workouts. Sometimes it's not as hard. Sometimes it's super hard. But yeah, three times a day. I take the weekends off.
You ever have a moment where you were like, what the hell did I get myself into?
No.
Never doubted yourself?
No, we did, recently I think Duke likes to call them scrimmages.
Okay.
And essentially in my mind what they are is amateur fights. And what we did last time, because Duke thought my striking was developing more rapidly than everything else. He wanted to see strictly my striking. So I wound up fighting somebody and just stand up. So it was basically a kickboxing match.
Okay.
I got rocked pretty hard.
Did you get knocked out?
No.
Okay.
No.
Was that the first time you were rocked hard?
I mean, we were going, we were going for it. So,
okay.
And we are filming all this. A guy named Rory Kampf is taping all this. He's famous for doing a couple of really good 30-30s, most recently the
Yes.
Christian Leitner one, which you were in.
Very talented man.
I don't think a lot of people know that. I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about that, but yeah, we're filming it. I think it's a pretty cool story to tell. So you're going to see, my first day in the gym, and it's going to progress all the way to fight week.
Wow.
Probably do one more episode or whatever after that. So, the cameras are filming it, and I didn't get knocked out. I would gladly offer up the information that I would have lost by a judge's decision,
okay.
but I hung in there, and it's like I said, every day, every week, everything gets compiled, and I learn, and now we take what I did wrong from that fight, and we apply it, and we relearn things or find out what I did wrong and do it right, and find more things to work on, and just kind of drill off of that.
So if those are amateur fights, any idea what your record would be right now, amateur-wise?
No, because I don't know. That one I would have lost. I don't know about the other ones. Yeah.
But I'm sure you're winning some here and there, right?
Oh, I doubt it.
Doubt it. Is that frustrating?
I mean, yeah.
Ego-wise, right? You want to win anything you do.
It's not frustrating ego-wise.
Okay.
I'm fighting professional fighters.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? And I know I'm at that level where I'm fighting these professional fighters, and I'm the one. You know, it's all just to gauge like where I'm at, where I need to be, what we need to work on, where I need to go. You know, and I can't thank these guys enough. They don't have to come in on their day off, or you know what I mean, and work with me or fight me, train with me, whatever. So it's pretty cool, but nothing's like oh shit, what have I gotten myself
Right.
into? You know what I mean? Like I get punched in the face. That's what I do now.
What's been the toughest part, though? The toughest part of mixed martial arts to adapt to. You had some history, obviously, with jiu-jitsu. So I'm guessing it's not that.
The toughest thing for me, and there's a couple guys in the gym that constantly remind me, I think I take it too easy on guys. Like when we're rolling or drilling or something like that, like it's almost like I'm still in pro wrestling mode. You know what I mean? So it almost takes me that stiff jab right in the nose to kind of wake me up.
Okay.
And go, oh, okay, yeah, thank you for thank you for reminding me. Yeah, so it's and that's like a weird thing, you know. But I remember talking to Brock, and he had that same problem. He told me like it was kind of weird for him because you're so conditioned to taking care of your opponent and doing things, and it's just like everything needs to be heavier. I need heavier hips, and you know that's something we're working on. Thank you.
How often do you and this is a new addition to the series as well, Larry.
Yeah. Famous Larry.
First it's the dog, then it's the baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that how it goes?
That's the way.
Is that what you did?
No, we skipped the dog part and went straight to.
Well, then how are you going to tell me that's the way it is?
Space is limited. In any event.
Quit showing the world your dick, Larry. Get out of here.
How often do you tell yourself, I wish I did this 5 years ago, before that contract?
I mean, that's probably the only
time you say.
Yeah, but it's still, even then, like, I regret is such a taboo word with me. I don't regret anything. Everything happens for a reason. But yeah, I do wish, I would have done this 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier.
Did you ever watch pro wrestling?
No. I watched my wife when she was on TV. She would tell me what segment I would tune in.
Right.
But no, there's like, I still got friends who work there. They come through. We go out to eat. We grab coffee, but I don't watch.
Was it a bit of a relief?
I didn't watch when I was there.
Right.
Like, people think I like cold turkey. Like, you know, I didn't watch when I was still there. I didn't watch my stuff. I just didn't watch.
Because you stopped being a fan. It was your job.
Yeah, very much.
Was it a relief when your wife left, so that you didn't have to watch anymore anything?
No, I mean, and that's like a relief. No, because I never minded watching her.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm invested in her, so like I'm interested in what she does. But no, like, was it a relief when she left? No, I really think she was working somewhere. She was doing what she loved, and people were making it hard for her, you know, to work there. So it was a crappy situation, and they made it so it was no longer ideal, if that makes sense.
But once that happens, you can kind of wash your hands of that whole chapter of both your lives, right? You can really move on.
Yeah, we're trying to.
Yeah. When I would imagine when she was still in it, there was still a part of you that had to remain because that's your wife. You want to support her, but now you can officially kind of divorce yourself from that situation, which is great.
And, you know, see, it's funny. You do these interviews and people cherry pick, and they'll try to twist my words, and so they get the answers that they want. Like, she can go back tomorrow. I wouldn't care. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's her decision. Right.
Where do we stand right now?
What?
Where do we stand right now as far as your debut is concerned? Do you have any idea?
No, I really don't. I keep saying end of the year just because it'll have been a year, and I kind of want to get the first one in. You know what I mean? It'll be a year
2015.
Yeah, I would like to. My accountant wants me to wait until January.
Why is that?
Just so I don't have any big income
Okay.
coming in.
We don't think about these things.
Yeah, I don't either. But
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, you can, yeah, delay it." And I was like, "Really? Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, okay." No, but to me, that's just like a personal goal. I say December, but it's really it's up to Duke, it's up to Ben, it's up to Daniel, it's up to Cushman. It's
So who will make that final call?
probably Duke.
Do they call you? Does the UFC call you and say where we at? You know, how many more? Are they just waiting for you?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting. UFC 181 was December 6th, and they have a pay-per-view on December 5th.
Really?
So it'll be 364 days later. Is that the goal? Would that be the date?
I think it depends on. It's like I said, for me, there's like a weird internal clock. I would like that to happen.
Are you
But,
getting anxious?
yes and no, because it's stepping into the octagon is not something I take lightly. I don't think anybody does. So like I want to be as absolutely prepared as I possibly can be. I don't want to be like, oh man, I would be. Yeah, I don't really feel ready, but yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a difference between a fighter that has, 10 fights under their belt and years of experience fighting, taking a fight on short notice, and me taking a fight on short notice. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, fight already," but like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm taking my time and I'm doing it right.
Now that you're in this world, do you ever sit back and watch and be like, I could beat that guy? Have you watched fights at any point, UFC fights, and said to yourself, "Oh, give me this guy. I'm ready for this guy. This
Oh,
guy."
you're really setting me up here, aren't you?
I'm just curious.
You son of a bitch. I think the whole purpose of me doing anything in my life is because I enjoy it. It's about the journey and not necessarily the destination. That being said, I think I spar, wrestle, roll with some of the best guys in MMA. And I think a lot of those guys in my gym, and I'm talking about the guys that nobody's heard of, could beat a lot of guys in the UFC. And until I can get the better of the guys in my gym, I'm not going to be that guy that's going to say, yeah, I can beat this guy and point fingers and call people out. Like, I got a target on my face already. So I'll let the fighters, I think one of my biggest assets going into my fight is going to be the complete unknown, big question mark. Well, what's he good at? What's he best at? What's he worst at? And I don't think I need to participate in the pointing of fingers and, I think MMA as a whole is something I can do and be successful at, but I don't think it's really my place at the moment to say, oh, I can beat this guy, I can beat this guy.
Do you believe your first opponent is currently in the UFC?
I hope so.
That's what you want.
Yeah. I know the train of thought is, oh, they're going to give you a tomato can, but think about this. It doesn't matter who they give me. If I lose, everyone's going to say I told you so. If I win, everyone's going to say that guy sucked. It doesn't matter who it is. People will make excuses to get the answers that will help them sleep at night. Whatever their narrative of all this is, they're gonna say whatever. So what can I do except train my ass off and be as prepared as I can be?
I get the impression this isn't a one-time thing. Like that was kind of, we didn't really know. This is definitely not a one-time thing, right?
I hope not.
Regardless.
No, fuck no. I got a sweet deal. Well,
Yeah.
why would I want to just fight once? Yeah.
Do you know what weight it will be at?
I'm hoping 170.
Yeah, that's the plan.
I'm walking around like 190 right now, and I got a little bit of wiggle room. I'm not, I'll enjoy a pizza with the wife once a week, because why the fuck not? Why, as Cowboy Cerrone said to me the other day, why the fuck would you eat clean right now? And I think my training is so difficult that like I almost need that to kind of not only replenish my body physically, but like mentally. Like that's my break.
Right.
Like man, I really killed it this week. I'm gonna eat this cake.
Since the announcement, was there one moment, one phone call, one text message, one surprise person that came out and really said something to you that was like, wow, that was I really appreciated that. I really needed that. That was really cool of them to do this. Did anything like that happen?
There's been a lot of moments like
Really?
that, and I think we got one on tape. You were interviewing me that night
Yeah.
at the MGM, and like Frankie walks by who else was it?
Khabib, yeah.
walks by, and they're all like, right on, man, go for it. Welcome to the UFC. I think that stuff like that's awesome. I don't let it get to my head, because I think if you listen to all the super praise, I think you got to listen to all the super negativity, and who the hell wants to do that? But yeah, there's been a lot of people that, obviously everybody talks about it. I think that night, one that sticks out to me, Daniel Bryan texted me, and he was just like, that was fucking awesome. And I was like, well, I didn't do anything yet. It was just an announcement, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I think it took a lot of people off guard. But like, like that's a guy that, I think everybody thinks like we're super best friends, but like, we're social when we see each other. But like, outside of that world, like we hadn't really talked in a while. So for him to reach out and text me, I thought was pretty cool.
The Reebok stuff has been a very hot topic in the world of MMA. And for me in particular, because when they came out with the mock-ups of the kits, yours was on the website and it was listed as Phillip Brooks, which
spelled wrong.
Spelled wrong.
And they were all spelled wrong, weren't they? Isn't that
to boot, some of them. But your name, CM Punk, is worth a lot, right? I mean, it's world renowned.
Yep.
Phillip Brooks, not. Why was it Phillip Brooks?
I don't know.
You had no idea?
No, I didn't ask either.
Do you know if that's what they're going to go by?
No, it's CM Punk.
It is CM Punk.
Yeah.
So that maybe was just much like the other mistakes, initial mistake.
Just a goof up. Like I said, though, I didn't ask. I don't worry about stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you feel about having to wear a quote-unquote uniform?
I could care less.
Who are you to say anything, right, at this point?
Yeah, I could probably. I don't have an agent. I don't have a manager. I don't. I worked out my UFC deal myself. I have a lawyer. That's about it. So I'm sure I could hustle and get a ton of sponsors and probably make a really decent amount of money. But, to me, my focus is training. And it's almost a relief that I don't have to worry about all that extra hustle stuff. And, I don't want to have to pay somebody 10, 15% of my money unless they're also getting punched in the face. Mm-hmm. So, for my first fight, I get $2,500 from Reebok. It's $2,500 that I didn't have before, so who am I to complain about it?
But for the record, when they do announce you will be CM Punk, you're not dropping that.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
I'll be
that was
CM
good.
Punk. Yeah.
It's good to know.
People are upset about that.
People were worried.
Yeah.
Well, they're upset that you're going with that.
I guess.
Who's upset about that? The
I don't
purists?
know. The same people who call Quentin Jackson Rampage.
Right.
The same
Or
people who call
Kevin
Mirko
Ferguson.
Filipovic
Right, yes.
Pro Cop. Yeah, I don't know. Nobody even knows Korean Zombie's real name.
Do you dream about that night, that first night?
Yeah.
What happens in these dreams?
I'm a big believer in, PMA, positive mental attitude. So I'll take some time I try to do every day. Sometimes it falls to the wayside, but I just kind of like shut my eyes. And Duncan Keith on the Blackhawks does this too. We talk about it a lot. Okay. You just visualize, I'm sure he visualized himself winning the Stanley Cup. You put that out there into the world, it happens. I visualize the walk. I visualize, Duke coming in after I stop somebody, being happy, picking me up. I visualize who I'm going to thank. I just visualize a giant smile on my face. I visualize the whole week. I visualize, the live workouts. I visualize an interview with you. I think you have to think about stuff like that and be prepared. And the more positive you are, I really, truly do believe you can make things happen that way, And I'm not talking about moving shit with your mind. No, I'm not some weird hippie or anything like that. But I do believe in, staying positive, and just visualizing what you want to have happen.
You're in the moment right now, so you may be a little biased, but this journey thus far, and it's not even close to done, and the real heavy-duty stuff is yet to come. Is this the most fun that you've ever had because you talked about journeys and not so much, the end destination. As far as a journey, and you've been through a lot of them throughout your professional career, is this the most fun that you've ever had?
It's hard to say, I definitely feel super close to a lot of the memories I had when I was first training for pro wrestling.
Really?
Walking into like a gym, not knowing what to expect, knowing who the trainers are, not knowing how they're going to react to you, meeting new people, developing new relationships, meeting new friends. You know, like, to me, that's what this whole thing's about. You know, it's not about the money. It's not even so much about the fight. It's about everything that happens in between, and I'm having a blast. I don't know if it's the funnest time, but it's certainly not the darkest time, and to me that means everything. You know, it's all about the journey.
Just a couple weeks ago was the anniversary of that infamous promo in Las Vegas that was really, you know, a moneymaker for you. And I guess the crux of that was, you know, you sort of being upset about certain things and someone coming in and not worthy of that spot and taking a spot of someone who was working hard, et cetera, et cetera. Did you ever have to come to terms with the idea that in some ways you may be viewed as the guy that you were criticizing when you were on top of the world there?
No, because as some MMA purists constantly like to remind me on Twitter, UFC is real. It's
Right.
not fake.
Right.
As if I wasn't privy to that nugget of information before. And I think Joe Silva's the one who said it. Like, if anything, I might be creating an opportunity for somebody if they search
Sure.
outside of UFC. You know, plus there's already at least 24 guys in the UFC that have called me out that said they want to fight me. You know, so I don't think I'm taking a spot. It's a lot different. You know, when it's a, you know, the predetermined sport, or when it's actual fighting. You know, like I said, if I step in the cage and I'm a washout and I get starched in like 30 seconds, well, like, fucking good for all you guys. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm not taking food off anybody's plate. There's not anybody. You know, I'm not fighting Conor McGregor right away. I'm not fighting Robbie Lawler right away. So I don't know why anybody would be upset.
When you see that Lawler fight and the cuts and the face and all that, what's your reaction to that?
One of them probably should have tried wrestling more. I don't
So
know.
it's never like, this is some, you know, intense stuff. It's never something like that. It's never where you start to envision yourself in that scenario.
Come on, I was on the ground floor watching Oleg Taktarov, you know, bleed on guys for 90 minutes.
Sure.
You know, don't
But-
act like I'm.
No, but you were not a UFC fighter
No.
when that was happening. So it's different. You start
There's
to-
people that are going to say right now, at this moment, whatever the date is, end of June 2015, end of July,
yeah.
I'm not a UFC fighter because I haven't fought yet.
Well, you're on the roster.
But yeah, no, nothing shocks me. You know, it's a fight. That shit's gonna happen. You know, what I take away from that fight is the fact that one of those guys didn't go down sooner. That was a war.
Let me end on this. You're an inspiration to a lot of people for many different reasons, but I think now more so than ever, because here you are, just a guy going after your dream. You left something that was very secure. You were probably making a lot of good money, and you're putting yourself out there in a much riskier way, right? Have you heard from people who you have inspired, who have told you that, wow, you've been, even in normal walk of life, you've inspired me to do this, to chase this dream, that dream. Have you heard from people like that?
Oh yeah, all the time. You know, whether it's I meet somebody on the street or you know, that happened a lot at Fan Expo. You know, I did a couple of signings and there was quite a few people. I wish I could remember their names, but you know, you meet so many people. But you know, anything from, hey, I'm doing this too now because you inspired me to do it, or you know, I'm a single mom and you've inspired me to, you know, go to college while working and taking care of a kid. Like that was one that stuck out in my head from Fan Expo. You know, lots of stuff. People tell me all the time that I help them, you know, either through a bad situation or to recognize that they needed to move on from a bad situation. And that's always super, super cool. I know I have the reputation of, you know, being a jerk or whatever because I tend to not let people get away with their bullshit, you know. But I do appreciate my fans, especially when they're, you know, forthcoming with personal information like that. I think it's super sweet.
And do you have a schedule, like, you know, things you need to check off before that debut? Like, okay, we're here end of July. I need to be at this point by October. I need to do this. Or is it just showing up every day and doing what your coaches tell you?
Yeah, I don't think about, you know, like time as in terms of like what I'm doing or where I need to be. It's literally I show up I don't ask them what we're doing. They just say, "Can you be here at 11?" I say, "Yeah." And then another coach will say 12 tomorrow, and I'll say, "Yeah." And then that'll roll right into 1:30 pro practice, and then I can eat, I can go home, I can walk Larry, I can
What a
kiss
life.
April, I can take a nap, and then I go back at 7, and do it all over again.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's the vibe like these days?
Super loose, relaxed. Are we talking about in the gym?
Yeah, because it's been a rough year for Rufus Sport.
Yeah, but I think that kind of makes everybody excited, because the reason I think everybody there is such an accomplished fighter is because they battle back from adversity. You know what I mean? A guy like Anthony Pettis, who was a champion and he got dethroned and then he got injured. So yeah, bad year, but I think he's looking forward to stepping up and getting back in there and showing everybody why he was a champion in the first place.
All right. So it's been good to catch up. I look forward to doing it again if the UFC comes back to Chicago. If they don't,
I think they will.
then I probably won't.
Oh, really? At some point.
What are you trying to say?
They will.
Now people are going to look into
Well,
this.
you know what I visualize?
Yes.
Talking about putting stuff out there. What I visualize is I fight somewhere. I don't know where.
Okay.
I know it's going to be on pay-per-view.
Yeah. Main event, you think?
No, I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be in Vegas. That's just the majority of the fights are in Vegas.
Makes sense.
Would love to fight on a card with like Ronda or McGregor or whatever, so we can try to break some records
Yep.
and just everybody can make some money. I visualize my second fight being in Chicago.
Wow.
I think after the first fight, I think it might just come down to where I would like to fight. I think my hometown would be pretty special, and there's certain buildings around the country that I'm always fond of. So I might like to see if I can cherry pick certain dates or certain buildings.
What are the other ones?
I think the Garden's a special place. And I say that it's weird because it's remodeled. you
Yeah.
know, So I think it lost a lot of its magic. But the fact that MMA isn't legal in New York is pretty wacky. And that's obviously that goes beyond anybody's sphere of influence, so to speak. That's all politics. I would like to obviously see MMA in New York. I think that's going to generate a lot of money for a lot of different people in and around New York. Obviously, the fighters, UFC. But you want to talk about that for a minute? Why is that? That's so dumb.
It's as someone who lives in the state of New York,
Right.
It's a little frustrating that I have to travel all over the world and I can't go, on the
You
subway.
think of like all the things that have probably gone on in like Madison Square Garden, and
the crazy things. There's a lot of wacky things that come through that building.
I'm sure.
And the fact that you can wrestle there, they have wrestling events.
I'm
can
sure
have
there's
kickboxing
I'm sure there's
events.
been like weird stuff like bull riding and like.
Of course.
Yeah.
But you can
That's
do
weird.
everything else. You can do boxing, you can do kickboxing, you can do amateur MMA. They've held an amateur MMA event there.
It's pretty weird.
It
Politics.
tells you what's really going
I
on.
hate politics.
But your debut, at least this point, it won't happen because unless you really delay it, people were talking about it being in December at MSG. That would have been, wow.
That would have been super cool,
That would have been a nice little tie-in because you
It
sold
could've
out MSG, right?
Yeah. A couple times.
Couple times.
Not to brag. Or
Sure,
anything
sure.
Like that,
But so we're talking. See, I envision, if I may, I do this stuff as well. January 2nd, Aldo McGregor in Vegas. I have no insider information, but I kind of feel like it should be in Vegas. Aldo McGregor, you third fight, kind of in the middle there, so a little less pressure. That fight will generate a ton of attention, media, all that stuff.
What I feel, the only way I'm going to feel pressure is if my first fight's in my hometown.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you don't want it to be here?
No.
Okay.
I don't want my first fight to be in Chicago. That's why
Wow.
it's the second fight,
Okay.
Chicago.
There'll still be a lot of pressure.
I don't think so. Why?
Well, because you're a
Where's the
Chicago
pressure
guy.
come from?
Right. But if you get it out of the way, then it doesn't matter anymore, right?
I don't think
The
so.
debut is done.
Yeah.
Okay, so January 2nd in Vegas. Do you like that idea? Because I feel like that's the fight along with your debut.
Well,
that has the
Christ, is
best-
that fight going to happen?
It will happen.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Are you
remember,
sure?
Remember this positive reinforcement? we were talking
I
about?
know, but
Positive
do you know
thinking?
something I don't?
No, I
Like,
don't have any news.
Yeah,
I mean,
who
that's the
knows?
fight that they want. But I think that's the fight with your fight that can really possibly break a record. And then maybe next summer or something like that, right? Right
Yeah,
here.
hopefully.
United
Yeah.
Center.
I mean, everything's.
We're not going to Rosemont or
No. We're going.
One of the big daddy.
We're going where the champs play, Blackhawks.
Right.
The UC. I think everything's contingent on that first fight. You know what I mean? Let's see how much. See what happens in that first fight, and then we can go from there.
Okay, last final question. I promise. I promise.
I don't care.
I've been taking a lot of your time. You got a lot of busy things.
I do have to eat.
Yes. Okay. So I just want to know, in your opinion, why do you think they signed you? Because this is somewhat unprecedented, right? They've never done anything like this.
Yeah, it really is, and that's probably the best question you've asked me.
Oh wow! Save the best for last.
I don't know. I think. Okay, obviously they think there's money in it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. And that's, I don't think it gets more black and white than that. Mm-hmm. I think they think there's money in it, so why not?
Did you really have to convince them though, or did you feel because?
No, they had to convince me.
Convince you what?
that they were serious.
Okay.
And like I've known them for years, and they just knew that it was something that I if given the opportunity, would have loved to have done. When they got the idea that they were serious about talking to me about it, I don't know. That you gotta corner Dana and ask him, you know. But I don't know. They obviously think there's money in it. So
well, when they offered you that deal, you thought they were joking.
I thought they were fucking kidding. I mean,
We didn't go into that so much in that interview.
Okay, so it's October. Can I tell you a story?
Please, I would love it.
Okay, so it's October. Where were you? I know, but you were like a week in like Mexico or something like that. I don't know. So she's on the road. She's gone for a week. What? Okay.
Beautiful place, I hear.
Yeah. She's somewhere. She's somewhere foreign. She's out of the country. So I'm like, I'm gonna drive to Louisville, visit my old friend, you know, Cliff, aka Domino.
Okay.
One of your favorite wrestlers. No? Deuce and Domino?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
See?
Fellow member of the tribe.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to go to my old stomping grounds, you know, hang out with Cliff, you know, and it's just two guys hanging out, sitting on the couch, watching movies, going to the gym, eating sandwiches, watching a lot of postseason baseball. You know, at that time, my friend C.J. Wilson was in the postseason pitching, so I was watching those games, and we're just chilling. I think we were actually. Funny anecdote, maybe this will become a Trivial Pursuit question somewhere down the line. You never know.
I love this.
We're watching Thelma and Louise,
and
my phone rings, and I look at it, and it's Dana White. And I'm like, it's a butt dial. Hello? Hey, man. How you doing? Oh, what's up? He's like fucking out of breath.
Okay.
You know, like, to me, this is he's like the kind of out of breath you get when like, your friend calls you to pick you up from jail. So I'm like, what's up, man? Are you okay? Oh, yeah. My kid just won this crazy overtime football game, you know, and I'm like, Mazel tov.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Is that why you're calling me? You're that,
share this news?
He's that stoked, and, you know, I don't know. It sounds like something he'd do. He loves his kids. He'd do anything for his kids. Right. So I'm thinking, fuck, maybe he's just, you know. No. Hey, listen, do you ever think about fighting? Yeah, I think about it all the time, you know, like, and he was like, what's the deal with Vince? And, you know, and like at the time, you know, I was going through some legal stuff. So I explained to him the extent of it. And he was like, you going back? And I was like, no, don't want to. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm just trying to get all this legal stuff wrapped up, you know. All right, me and Lorenzo want to fly to Chicago and talk to you. Okay.
Wow.
I just thought he was fucking with me. You know what I mean? I thought he was kidding. So he was just like, we'll call you tomorrow from the office and we'll talk. And then we talked. They flew out. We went out to dinner. And they were basically just like, yeah, we want to offer you a contract to fight. And I was like, all right. Like, what? You know, like how soon would I have to fight? Train and you tell us when you're ready and you fight. And I was just like, well, fuck. I mean, how do you say no to that?
Did you ask them why? Why are you doing this? Why are you offering me
this?
this?
I was curious, and
they
just said it's good business. And I was like, you know, they said it's contingent on you. Like if you don't, if the idea freaks you out, if the idea scares you, if you don't want to do it, if you're never serious about it, say no. Who cares? Fuck it. And then we're just gonna get on a plane and fly to Montreal and go talk to George, which is what they did, which is fucking hilarious to me, you know. But no, I was just like, well, my knee-jerk reaction was, yes, absolutely. Let me go talk to my wife, see what's up. She's out of the country right now, so it's not a phone conversation. I'll wait till she gets home. I'll talk to her, and then I said, but 100%, I'm in. But let me just talk things over. And I talked it over, and then everything snowballed from there. You know what I mean? Like I said, that was late October or mid-October, and then they wanted to announce it like I think in November. There's some like scheduling conflict. Like I wanted to make sure Ape could be there to be a part of it, because we spent so much time missing everything because we were on the road so much. So then I got pushed to, what did you say, December 5th? Yeah, and then they did it December 5th. And
You were supposed to be that big announcement at that press conference in November,
yeah,
right?
like they told me I wasn't, but I guess I was. I don't know. Pretty weird.
So she's to blame for the announcement not to happen.
Absolutely,
I'm just
it's
kidding. I'm just
absolutely her
joking.
fault. No, and like that's the thing. Like it's kind of surreal that they wanted to make that
Yeah.
big of a deal.
Honestly,
about
I
it.
don't think anyone knew. Even I thought that you reached out to them, you kind of shopped yourself, said, hey, I'm interested in doing this. If it's not with you guys, I'll go out and do something else. But they started this.
Well, here's the thing. Because I was involved in some legal stuff.
Right.
There's some contractual stuff going on and lawyers and, I wasn't mentally in a position to move on to do anything else. Not acting, not anything. I wanted to wrap that up, get it done, and then my plan was to eventually just kind of start training, look for maybe a place around here or whatnot. So in a way, all they did was really just kind of expedite the process, and the rest is history. It's weird
That
how
is
things
wild.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it.
Maybe now people will kind of understand,
Yeah, I had no idea.
why this all happened, so fast at least, and why I said yes, why I'm doing it at all.
And it, like I said, it's unprecedented. They've
Yeah,
never made an
and
offer
maybe,
like this before.
and maybe I don't know if there's anything to this. Maybe they heard something from somebody. Maybe somebody else was going to make me an offer, and they kind of wanted to, make
But it
sure
never
it
got
was
to
with
that
them.
with anyone else.
No. I mean, dude, right when I left WWE, I got offers to do everything from porn to who knows
Really?
what. Yeah.
That's bizarre.
It's very bizarre.
Did you consider it?
No.
Oh, just,
Fuck
I mean,
no.
it's worth asking. I'm sure a section of your fans would.
That's weird.
Yeah,
It's weird, man.
I went there and I couldn't come back.
Section of my fans. No.
Wow. What other
Yeah,
crazy
so
ones?
I think maybe because I had a couple people who reached out and said, oh hey, so and so from this organization said if you're
Right.
interested, they want to and there's no use in naming names or
Sure.
you can probably guess who it was but yeah, there was a lot of different I'm not even going to say offers, just like feelers were sent out. So maybe that was Dana Lorenzo trying to make sure they secured me before anybody else did. But it really just kind of made sense, because it was something I was going to do anyway. And I'm either going to fail or I'm going to succeed. And you might as well do it on the biggest stage and just say, fuck it.
You could have negotiated you could have played the field and.
Not my style. You know what I mean? Because that's not what it's about.
Right.
Yeah.
And if the biggest organization's coming after you, then what's the point, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just figured.
What's the point?
I already know them. I don't gotta,
Right.
go through any kind of awkward phase with any reintroductions or meeting new people and wondering what the hell's going on. I know them. They're straight with me. I'm straight with them. Pretty good relationship already. So yeah, why not?
Okay. Honestly, I'm done. But Dillashaw Barao.
Dillashaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Didn't even think twice.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
No.
Why?
Well, there's always the weight cut questions with Barao.
Sure.
And unfortunately, anybody from that camp, you always kind of gotta wonder what's going to happen the week of the fight. I just think he's. I hate saying "eye of the tiger" because it's such a corny fight thing to say. But if you've talked to him, if you've seen him this week, he's
Dillashaw.
yeah.
Okay.
He's got
You've talked to
that.
him?
I saw him last week
Okay.
at.
Oh, that's
was it
right.
last week?
Yeah.
Was it last week?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I saw him 2 weeks ago, and even then, I saw it in his eyes, he didn't He didn't want to be at that fight. He wanted to be at his fight. So, but then again, I didn't talk to Barao, so I don't know. He might have the more eye of the tiger. I don't know.
You seem a little biased
just,
right now.
I just, what's that?
You're a little biased because you spoke to one guy, not the other. You didn't get the
Well,
complete
yeah,
story.
we're not going to play that. I'm friends with some of the alpha male guys. They're nice. TJ's a sweetheart.
Right.
His wife's a sweetheart. But yeah, I just, my brain and my heart say TJ.
And you'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Finally, you get to go.
Yeah, I get to go to one in Chicago for once.
First time, right? You didn't get to go to any of them.
No. I went to one. What did I? Was it Josh Thompson, Benson Henderson?
You were at that one. Oh, really?
Yeah, I was at that one, but then I had to literally run out of the United Center and jump on my bus and drive right to Pittsburgh. And that might have been my last day.
That
with
was
the
the last
company.
day,
Yeah.
yes. The infamous right there. It all comes together.
Damn.
How about that?
How about that, Larry? Give me a pop.
Unbelievable.
No? You don't want to give me a pop? All right.
Well, it's great to see you in this happy state. Very happy for you and your wife, of course, and just everything. It feels like a happier place here.
Oh, good. Yeah.
My fourth time here. I've had the pleasure of coming here, the honor really, and I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy training. You've got people training. I mean, it's just an unbelievable scene. It's changed a lot.
Yeah, we got a shitload of fighters in the basement right now.
Yeah.
All sweating.
So I don't want to wish you luck the rest of the way, but I look forward to when we can do this on Fight Week and really get this thing going. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, buddy.
Look at that.